Almost time. Check, check. 5-minute countdown. We are getting rocking and rolling in 5 minutes here. Let's make it happen.
We'll get started here in just a couple of minutes. If you are with TechTown, please find me in this room right there. If you are with TechTown, please find me in that room right there. Just a quick heads up. The NFL is very strict, so you're only allowed to hang out here. If you go down to the first floor, you will be kicked out, and that's obviously a problem. So do not go to the first floor. You're able to hang out here. We'll get going here in just a couple of minutes.
Leave the papers with me, okay?
I'll leave one with you. This is your BFF right here. Do not lose either of these.
Okay. Ready? All right. How we doing? Woo! Draft day is here. We are in the heart of the city. We are ready to make it happen. We are ready to show the world this is what Detroit is all about. We've been in this office space in Benzinga for about 9 years now, and I promise you there has never been more activity, more action, more going on in the heart of Detroit, right at the heart of Campus Martius than for this day that we are here today. My name is Luke Jacoby, guys. I am so thrilled to have you all with us. We're going to have jam-packed content flowing throughout the course of the day today. We're going to start with a conversation about tech and entrepreneurialism happening here in Detroit. We have the CMO of Quicken Loans, the guy who made this all happen. Rocket, the guy who made this all happen on stage with us. Oh, I'll get slapped for that one. Yeah, we need to edit that one out. Big difference. Old habits die hard. We've got a Michigan crew. Any U of M fans here? Bring some Go Blue. All right, we got some Michigan teammates who are on their way up now. We have some Lions. We have any Lions fans here? Rumor on the street. Jared Goff. Does anybody know that name? It's a rumor. It's a rumor. Don't believe everything you hear. Working on it, okay? If I pull it off, it'll be the greatest event of all time. Without further ado, I want to get us rocking and rolling. I'm going to pass it off to Ann Megha, COO of Milestone Capital. Who's going to start us off with our first conversation here, all about tech in the city of Detroit.
It's good? Okay. Yeah, it's good now. Thank you, Luke. Welcome, everybody. Glad to be kicking off this session. Going to be talking with Crystal here. And just so, you guys pay attention, you're about to really get inspired by her story and what we've done. She's one of Detroit's finest entrepreneurs. A lot of success that's going on, a lot of it because of support from people like you and people like us. So we'll talk a little bit about what it takes to do that and what her journey has been. And first of all, before we talk to Crystal, she's the main person for this show, I'll just do a quick intro about myself. Like Luke said, I am Ann Megha. I'm an angel investor. I am the CEO of Milestone Growth Capital. And Milestone Growth Capital, our focus, and I'm with Dawn, she's somewhere over there. With Dawn, our focus is supporting angel investors and founders as they navigate their parallel journeys. Both of them trying to figure out how to navigate early stage capital. So that's what we focus on, early stage founders and what capital they need to scale their businesses. That's what we focus on. Some of you here may be angel investors. Some of you may be wondering, what the heck is that? Just think about Shark Tank. That's like if I were to explain to you what basketball is and I referred you to LeBron, that's what Shark Tank is. So we're angel investors. We're the first round of money that goes into founders after family and friends, and usually before venture capital. So that's what we do. It's not philanthropy. I know somebody will talk about philanthropy later. We're actually in it for the money. We do more than just money, though. We support the founders, anything else that they need to succeed. So that's what we do. But we're here to talk about the great work that Crystal is doing. So let's start off with Crystal introducing herself and telling us a little bit about the company.
Thank you, Ann. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. My name is Crystal Brown, and I am the CEO and co-founder of CircNova, where we do AI-driven drug discovery to advance RNA therapeutics. So essentially, we're using AI to be able to create new programmable medicines that allows us to be able to treat diseases we've never treated before.
Okay. And I know some of the, as we talked about angel investing, we can talk a little bit about where you are so far, what you've been able to accomplish, and then we'll talk a little bit about the journey, how you got there.
Sure. So when you're undertaking a venture like mine that is in biotech, it's a very heavy lift. You have to raise a lot of money to be able to bring a new drug to market. And so in order to do that, it can be hard sometimes in the early stages to get the funding you need, but not just the funding, the support and the partnerships. And so the way that I was able to start off is first through non-dilutive funding, which is throwing things at the wall and seeing if I could get grants to get started. So you have to really stair step in order to get to that level of fundraising. You just don't go right out of the gate. And a lot of that is dependent upon angel investing. So those smaller checks that a lot of times people think in tech are not impactful and effective are incredibly impactful. And so one of the support that I've received between Dawn's group and Ann's group is something like $25,000 that may seem very, very small, but it allowed us to get to a certain milestone. And that milestone was getting the first generation of our Nova engine, which is my AI engine, actually created. And because I was able to reach that milestone, I was able to get to the next funding milestone and go after investors who write bigger checks. So the angel investing is incredibly important to early stage tech companies like mine.
And then a little bit about where you are now. I know, you've raised some stuff. You're at a point where you're going on to the next stage, just to get people excited. I know you're treating actual disease. You're working on treating actual diseases that people know about.
Yeah, and so I'm not the actual developer. My customers are the drug developers. So your bigger pharma companies, your Pfizers, your AstraZenecas, and those. Yeah. Right now, with our raise, so we are raising $2 million right now for our pre-seed, and a lot of that has been a mix of some angel money, some friends and family, some early stage VC money, and looks like we're doing pretty well. We're tracking pretty well. We'll be closing that round soon. And just to provide a little bit of context of how difficult that can be, there are not a lot of women, especially in the last couple of years in this fundraising climate, who have been able to raise more than $1 million. So for CircNova and for me to be able to raise $2 million and then also receive some non-dilutive funding to pull this off, it just shows the strength of Detroit and the strength of Michigan and what we're trying to do to bring these types of high growth tech companies to this state. So in the process of getting ready to close our round, but still receiving some last minute participation and plan to be oversubscribed. So really excited about this round and where we're going next.
Guys, she's being humble. It's very few founders that can raise a round of 2 million, especially in bio. It's in very difficult. Yes, it's very, so, round of applause for her.
Thank you. No, it is. And, it takes, I believe truly, and it takes a village. Everyone has to pitch in. And one thing that I have been able to do with a lot of our partners like Anna and like Dawn and a lot of the wonderful people here from Invest Detroit and Red Cedar Ventures and people like that is being able to explain what investment early stage really means. That is how we get to places where right now we're raising, like I said, $2 million on a $12 million post valuation, which is pretty big for a pre-seed in the Midwest. But it's because we have to really start thinking about how do we invest in high growth companies? What is the potential and the returns that you can have by investing early?
And it takes the support of, the earliest money that goes in is the riskiest money. And that's why, angel investors play such a critical role, because we are believing in the person. You don't have a product by then. You have an idea, you sell it to us, and then we just have to trust you going through that journey. Walk us through some of the critical milestones that you had to walk through to sort of reassure the angel investors that you're on the right path.
For sure, for sure. So, and one thing you said is you don't have a product,
Yeah.
you don't have your proof of concept. So how do you convince people that, hey, I need you to really give me money for this ideation phase? And the way to do that is to make sure that you've got the right tech, it's the right time, you have the right team, and all of those kind of T's are in place.
Yeah.
One of the first milestones that I knew I needed to get to was making sure that we actually had our Nova engine developed, and that was generation 0. So what we do is identify and then generate biological material that then goes to our customers. Our customers then develop that, and that becomes a medicine. In order for us to do that, the very first milestone was actually being able to prove out the Nova engine that we can do this and not just say it. And so the first milestone was us being able to secure a pilot partnership with the University of Michigan Center for RNA Biomedicine, and then being able to actually do our first 3D structure molecule that now can be developed. So that was the very first milestone that got people excited. The other thing that was very impactful for us was there was an AI competition for AI startups during Michigan Tech Week. It was not limited to biotech. It was over 100 companies that applied, and I went ahead and applied, and I won the top prize. So that was $50,000. Thank you. So that seed money helped us accomplish our first milestone that allowed me to actually open up the round and say, okay, now we're ready to receive investment. So I can't emphasize enough how much like those early angel checks help. And if we don't have them, how they can stop from really, really significant growth companies.
That's awesome. I told you, she's got, she keeps winning and just, saying it like it's nothing. Speaking of partnerships, I know you've got other partnerships that you're working on that, you're excited about. Talk about them.
I am. So one thing that we're doing right now is pursuing partnerships with larger pharmaceutical companies. So we are right now working with Bayer to enter Bayer co-labs, which will allow us to identify a co-development project or asset that we would discover for them, and then they would develop. Why that's really, really beneficial is because if you look at the types of partnerships and deals that we do, us helping them discover and then develop their own assets means we can bring that kind of scale up back to Michigan. So for example, there's a company right now that just did a similar deal I'm trying to pursue to discover 1 to 5 assets for a major pharmaceutical company. That contract is worth $30 million, and that's just one. When you look at the capacity of what types of contracts we will be pursuing, it's north of 30, 50, $100 million being able to discover those assets and continue doing them. We're able to produce infinite amounts of IP that is secure to CircNova, but also to our developers. So partnerships are a huge part of what I do, and that's how we're going to be able to bring these new medicines to market that, again, will treat diseases like triple-negative breast cancer, Alzheimer's, the things that we've had no hope in treating in the past. Now we have hope of treating them.
Guys, it's happening. These are the people that are actually going to, do that. And for me, from what I've learned, it's also, this is how medicine is getting personalized. This is the work that you're doing.
Absolutely.
In the future, we'll be able to do that. So just bringing it back home, bringing it back to, the support that we get here, for people who are thinking about, walking the journey you've walked, what advice would you tell them? What have you learned that you'll be able to accelerate their journey?
Yeah, so I very much believe in failing fast. You have to fail and then learn from that failure. My very first startup was another company that was focused on contributing to mRNA vaccinations. The truth is we entered the market a little bit too late. We didn't have a lot of hope of really being able to be successful. So just being able to learn that, hey, I failed, this is not the right time. And then cutting loose and saying, hey, I'm not going to force it. What can I learn from this experience? And then I can bake that into a new one. And that's one of the things I learned. When I did the first company, I opened my lab too quick. We ran out of money. It was a failure. But I learned this time, hey, starting off, I'm going to outsource my lab services. And then once I raise, I'll bring them in-house. So happy to announce that we are opening our wet lab May 15th at MIHQ in Ann Arbor, and really excited about proving out a lot of this.
And that's, every time you talk about all the different milestones, all the different things, opening a lab, that is jobs you're creating back home for people.
Yeah, and if you look at like the pipeline, right? Yeah, I'm creating jobs that will happen in the lab, but think about how many jobs will be created from the medicines we're developing. How many people will have to be hired to actually prove it out? And then when you scale up and manufacture, that's a whole nother leg of it. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about is really establishing Michigan and the Midwest as a serious biotech, player, and saying, hey, we can do end to end for certain specialized things and really make sure that we're competing.
Yeah. That's awesome. I know it's NFL week, and we think Detroit is all about mobility and cars, but here is proof that the future of Detroit is biotech. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you, Ann. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Let's get another round of applause for first panel kicking things off today. We have a very, very special speaker. The guy that I would say made it all happen. The reason that we are here on this draft day. All the branding, all the activations you see, when you see Rocket all over, think about how quick that transformation is from Quicken Loans to Rocket. This is the guy that made it all happen, that pulls everything into Detroit, builds these amazing activations. Can I get a round of applause for Mr. Casey Herbis? And Jason Raznick, Benzinga founder, taking the stage here for the one-on-one.
I think Casey needs a water. Whoa, that's loud. Oh, hello, right here, I guess. I don't know if that's how, I guess that's opposite how they do it on the Tonight Show, but it's all right, right? All right, so Casey, why is that happening, guys? Come on, Aaron. So Casey has been running around like you have like for the last 4 days. 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. has no time for anyone. I saw him twice.
I ended last night at Lafayette, Coney Island at 1:30.
Aaron. Coming over here. He wants to sit different. Is it his phone? What's the problem? His phone? Here, Luke will take his phone. So you ended at Lafayette, Coney Island at what time? Who should you text?
My wife. Tell her I'll be home Sunday.
Okay. Good line. Wait, you ended at Lafayette, Coney Island?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So give us like some highlights that you've had the past 24 hours. You just told my son one of the highlights. I think you should share that one.
We just shot a video with Caleb Simpson, the guy that asked you in New York, like, where do you live? How much you pay for rent? We have a Rocket Mortgage house down at Hart Plaza as part of the fan activation area. And so I brought Caleb Simpson in and shot a little content with him a couple hours ago. We got Aiden coming down here shortly.
Aiden Hutchinson.
He has not seen that outdoor board yet. And he's seen pictures of it, but he's going to be here later today. I hear he's going to be doing some special stuff on the stage. And so we're excited to have Aiden come down and see that board right there for the first time.
Yeah. And what is it like doing this draft? Is this a lot of work for you, Casey? This whole this lead up. It's not just the past 4 days.
Yeah, it's probably been 6 or 8 years in the making, Jason. At Rocket, we're a proud partner of the NFL. We've been a partner with the NFL now for 6 years. And we started working years ago with the Detroit Lions, the Detroit Sports Commission, the mayor's office to pitch the NFL about having the NFL draft in Detroit. No's before yeses. We got a couple of no's. We learned about the pitch process, how to make it better. And, we were blessed enough a few years ago for the NFL to pick Detroit as a spot here today. So it was like just over 2 years ago that Roger Goodell stood literally right over there and made the announcement. And it's like a dream. It was awesome. I don't know if anyone was here at 11:30. They opened the gates and it looked like Waste Management or a Cowboys game. People were running out through the gates to get their spot up against the fence. And I was like, holy shit, there's not a pick for like 11 hours. And you're going to be standing there against the rail.
So people ran to get to that?
Literally were running, sprinting from the gates to get their spot for the first pick tonight. Yeah.
Okay. And so branding, you do a ton of different branding, but Rocket Mortgage from the Super Bowl commercial, like 3 years ago, I think it was, you got that. It was like the simple app. Who's the character you had for that guy?
We've done a few Super Bowl commercials. Keegan-Michael Key.
Yeah, that was the one.
Jason Momoa.
Are you super nervous during Super Bowl commercials? That's what I wanted to know.
It's the worst. It's 7 months. It's 7 months of hell in which your job is basically hanging in the balance over 60 seconds. I always tell my wife, before Super Bowl, I tell her on Monday, I have a 50-50 shot.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Because if it goes bad, there's one person to blame. It's usually the marketing guy. Yeah.
And you weren't fired any of those years.
I've made through Well, I just celebrated 7 years yesterday, and I've made it through 5 Super Bowls. So,
Because what did you do before Rocket Mortgage?
25 years in automotive marketing at Chrysler, Stellantis. I helped launch Fiat back in the United States, Alfa Romeo, and I was blessed enough to join, Dan Gilbert and the family company 7 years ago, and it's been transformative in many, many ways.
Well, one question I have is, you guys, I watch a college football game and I see Rocket Mortgage commercials like 15 times. Okay. Like, how many times, like, doesn't that cost a lot of money? Like, how many, like, are you just get it in our head? And
We got to sell a lot of mortgages.
and it
Yeah,
works. The college marketing works.
It's the mortgage business is a lot like the car business. In the automotive business, we'd always used to say, you got to push iron over the curb. Here, we got to push a lot of paper over the desk, to afford these types of things. But, the last couple of years have been challenging, obviously, with the macroeconomic trends. But 20 and 21, as you well know, Jason, were, just absolute home runs of years, and the market settled back down. But, we're bullish about what the future holds, and the market settled a little bit. And, hopefully, the uncontrollable of interest rates, hopefully they start to turn towards our favor. And, this organization over 38 years has seen up to the right movement when the market is favorable. And, we're in the midst of, getting ready for that up to the right move again when the market changes for our favor.
All right. Now, just a few more questions. What do you do, Casey, when you're dealt with a problem? So like an obstacle, how do you handle either at work or outside of work?
I start to panic. And then, like we're
Xanax?
No, I do not.
That's bad.
No.
Cannabis?
It's like
I
anything.
didn't say that. I'm joking.
I think about the business that you've built over the years, Jason, in Benzinga, and that you've always been very, diligent and surrounding yourself with good people. And, I'm always like, I am second or third best at anything I do. And that I am never first best, but I try to surround myself for those that are better maybe in that subject matter. And nobody can do anything alone. And so, I've been very blessed at Rocket and, in my previous life of, working with, professionals and subject matter experts in the area. And so, we're very rich in talent, which is fantastic. We're primarily an in-house agency. So we do full funnel marketing from top to bottom, everything from Super Bowl to t-shirts. And so a lot of it is the team, it's the old Bo Schembechler line, right? You're a Michigan slappy.
I love that you're now a Michigan guy, not Michigan State. I love this. But now I have something else, another story. He may have been hustling for the draft, but this is the craziest hustle. You guys know the Rocket Mortgage golf tournament?
Classic.
Rocket Mortgage Classic golf tournament. I just have to add golf. I don't know. Anyways, Dan Gilbert brought it here, like, say, 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Really? Okay, 6 years ago. Well, Dan Gilbert didn't know when he brings up tournament and pays all this money, the batteries aren't included, is what he said. Meaning you have to go get players. You think you bring a tournament, the players come. You have a $6 million purse. You're going to go get players, and they're just going to come, right? Like you buy a little remote control car, the batteries aren't included. Well, they learned they had to go recruit players. So Casey Herbis, and it's not easy to do this, had to run around many golf courses for many years just recruiting players. Like, how is that for you?
Well, the PGA Tour is an interesting business model, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they're independent contractors. I mean, you've seen all of that come to light over the last few years with LIV and PGA Tour. In that the average golfer, I'll use Ricky Fowler, for example, there's 42 plus PGA tournaments during the course of the year. The average player like Ricky plays 23 to 26 tournaments. Once you take out the majors, Hawaii, California, Texas, Arnie, Memorial, you start to take all those down. Yep. There's not very many left. And so, we're a tournament. We know we're a challenger tournament, in that we do it. To your point, like, we're on the road talking to players about the first year. It was literally like, come to Detroit. And let's be honest, of 156 players, probably a single handful of players had been to the city of Detroit beforehand. Now, 6 years later, we're on that road, and the players are like, I can't wait to get back to Detroit. There are 42 tournaments, as I mentioned, Jason. Only 2 of them are in a city. Atlanta with the Tour Championship in Eastlake, and Detroit. Everywhere else is out in the suburbs. So we really use Detroit and downtown Detroit as the recruiting tool. So now we own the Shinola Hotel, right? Like, we put CBS, NBC, the players, the agents in there. We've now got the Roost right over here at the Book Tower. Like, the players are begging us to be downtown because they love being part of a downtown urban core. So we use where everyone's seen here today with the draft is like a recruiting tool. Yes, there's a purse. Yes, but these players, they're on the road a lot. They want to make sure that they and their families. And so we also spend a lot of time with wives and coaches, just recruiting.
I think a call to action though. We got people here. We got about 100,000 people watching virtually. Tweet, go on Instagram to PGA players, say, come to Detroit for the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Because it's him running around that's why he's all in shape now. And it's him running around chasing players. We need everyone to get players. I mean, I have a player stay at my house.
When are you going to play, Jason?
I mean, that's when I can.
You've been in the Pro-Am. What's been your best score in the Pro-Am?
I've been in the Pro-Am every year, by the way. I almost quit last year because I was.
Don't let his looks fool you. He's actually a decent golfer.
I am a decent golfer.
The first time I saw a club in your hands, I was like, this is going to be TikTok legend.
Yeah.
And you actually strike the ball pretty well.
Yeah, you thought I was going to be terrible.
And it really disappointed me because I was like,
wait.
I'm going to use Raznick right now. And I was going to grab Josh, your son. And I was like, let's go shoot your dad because we are going to go viral with your swing. And you have a nice swing.
And the best part, so I appreciate you saying that. You have a decent swing. But the best part is Bryson DeChambeau gave me a lesson. And he literally thought something was wrong with me. Like my arm wouldn't do this. I was trying to teach. I want to putt like how he putts. And he's like, your arm just, he's like, you really might have something wrong with you. You should go to I one time played in a Pro-Am with Jerry Kelly, who was very accomplished on the PGA Tour, then the Senior Tour. He fucked me up so bad. I swear to God, I couldn't hit a ball straight for 8 months. This guy spent like 4 hours with me. And by the end of the round, I was like, this is the worst experience of my life. And then for 8 months, I was deprogramming Jerry Kelly in my head. And so from now on, I'm like, when I play with a professional, I'm like, don't take this wrong. Don't give me advice because it is head games. So luckily Bryson was just me and like two others. Bryson tried to teach Chris Webber how to hit a long shot, and there was like 70 people watching.
Right.
It went on for like 30 minutes, and Chris could not do what Bryson wanted. Every shot just kept going. And I have it all on video. I should put that up. It was the funniest thing because Chris.
I remember watching. You were playing with Chris that day.
Yeah, I was playing with Chris. Yes, he's an athlete. Chris and I had fun, and and Bryson. So that's fun. So all these activities are results of, at the end of the day, building a business. Right? You couldn't have this energy if you didn't build a business. And so what's next for your business? And it could be a quick one. I know you guys are excited to meet some of the players and all the different athletes, but what's next?
For business wise, I mean, we're in the midst of, we have a new CEO that joined us, Varun Krishna from Intuit, about in September. So we'll call it now 3 + 4, 6, 7 months ago. We are in the midst of some radical transformation within Rocket and Rocket companies, all built around AI fueled home ownership. And it's exciting. It is the amount of investment that we're making in technology and in AI to help us be bigger and faster and helping clients every step of the way. It's in my 7 years, this has easily been the most, we'll call it coming out of a challenge, the most exciting last 6 months I've had over the last 7 years. And in some ways, I mean, we are just getting started. We both worked, for Dan Gilbert, and I'll never forget what he said at the Crain's Newsmaker of the Decade recently was, if you think we've done a lot the last 10 years, we're just getting started. We're doubling down. And today, tomorrow, and Saturday is just another, that's just another reminder of we've been down here now for 14 years, and this was a dream to bring this here. And in some ways, it's exciting to know that we're just getting started for the next generation. All right, guys, this is Casey Herbers. If you don't know him, follow him on Instagram, Twitter, all these things. He controls a lot of the messaging that you see on TV, which is kind of cool. By the way, I've known him for a lot of years. I've begged to be on a commercial. I asked take my son on a commercial. You have a face for radio. And that's what he said. That's what he said. He goes, your whole family has a face for radio. Isn't nice? Just you. I know. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Casey Herbers. Thanks, buddy. Let's go. Good job.
Everybody, I have an important question to ask. Do we have any Lions fans here? Any Lions fans in the audience? All right, my dad just walked in. He's had to put up with me for 31 years. He is the biggest Lions fan out there, 30-year season ticket holder. Can we get a go Lions? Woo! All right, we have some U of M athletes in the house. Do we have any Maize and Blue fans here? Any Maize and Blue fans here? Can we get a go Blue? All right, and I have to do it. Michigan is my home state. What about Sparties? Do we have any Sparties here? Go Green! See, I know them both. All right. I'm going to keep us rocking and rolling, guys. I'm about to have a conversation with Mr. Antone Barnes. I'll give him a nice introduction in a second here, but stay tuned. Oh, this is a good one for you. Do we have any Eminem fans in the house? Paul Rosenberg, the man behind Eminem, been there for the whole journey, is going to be taking stage with us in just about 15 minutes. Without further ado, I'm going to hop to a fireside chat here with Mr. Antone Barnes. Give him a round of applause. All right. So Antone, so kind to join us. Where did you fly in from?
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. Got in this morning, has to leave back tonight, but wanted to be here for this conversation. Antone has 25 years building brands and developing brands for athletes, for entertainers, etc. We are so honored to have you here with us today.
Appreciate you coming.
Absolutely. So I just want to kick it off. When you're thinking, and everybody who's out in the hallway, there's more chairs in the back. Sorry, I forgot to say that when I was doing my Go Lions. I got excited. But thank you for being here with us today. When you think about building the brand for an athlete or for an entertainer, what are some of the key factors that you look for, right? What are you thinking about? How do you get in your mind, in their mind, et cetera?
They have to think outside of their current realm as an athlete or an entertainer. We're talking athletes now since we're here for the draft. A lot of people don't get to know them as individuals, okay? Being an athlete, to be honest with you, is a disposable aspect. There's going to be a day where you're going to be considered irrelevant before you're even 30 years old. So you have to get and invest in your brand, which basically is your personality, to expand your brand relevancy. If you're just recognized as an athlete, once you take that jersey off, your level of relevancy depreciates. The athletes that we have currently 28 athletes, current and retired players. And the mentality, when guys come into the league, I tell everyone, literally, you should have your exit strategy. Okay, so with that being said, you need to consider, okay, if you want to be a cook, a painter, whatever it is, use the relevant platform of the NFL to get that out to the world, because that's going to create opportunities for you with lifestyle brands, not just Nike, not Under Armour, but Porsche, Louis Vuitton, all of these lifestyle entities that you could represent and get endorsements and potentially jobs after your career is over.
Awesome. And give us a story. Give us a success story. Somebody who you help them to develop that entrepreneurial angle or develop
Current
that
player
brand.
or someone that's retired and was able to transition on his terms, not the NFL terms. Which one?
Give me someone who's retired, able to transition on their terms.
Brandon Coleman.
Okay.
Brandon Coleman at one point was the largest wide receiver in the league. He's 6'6", 225. Played wide receiver with Drew Brees. One game.
And hold on. When you shake his hand, is it like a glove?
Literally, yeah.
I was shaking hands with Megatron before.
Oh
my God.
He's bigger than Megatron. Okay.
I know why I'm not in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly.
When the Lions were
Imagine
having that
having to
0-16 year, I thought I had a shot.
Well,
I'm
you
like
gotta
tight end, slot receiver, put me out there.
Well, you got to take into consider that they're a large target now, too.
Okay.
So they take a lot more hits than a small, versatile guy. So going back to Brandon Coleman, a.k.a. Soul Cole now, during a playoff game, he got hit and couldn't feel his left arm, and continued playing, caught a pass first and fumbled the pass after receiving the catch. Come to find out he had nerve damage. Went to have surgery, had successful surgery, but the New Orleans Saints wanted to re-sign him for a 4-year deal. Brandon decided to turn it down because he said he's done with football. There's more things in life that he wanted to accomplish. So Cole now has three yoga studios. He travels the world. He just came back from a sabbatical in Costa Rica for 3 months. He's heavily into mental health. He's just got a sponsorship with, I can't go into detail, it's a very worldwide resort teaching yoga and mind healing. He actually just went to speak to the University of Oregon before this year. So long story short, he actually tells me now he's happier now because he found his purpose than while he was playing. Playing is something that you do. It's not who you are. See, a lot of people don't realize that. When you get to learn these athletes as individuals, you'll get a deep dive on the person, not the athlete. Being an athlete, like I said, you'll be irrelevant before you're 28. You got 40 years of your life to live. What are you going to do, okay, post your career? And that's where we have a lot of times identity crisis. And then that's the onset to mental health, okay, which is a major issue. So I advise all of our players to use the current NFL platform to find yourself and invest in yourself, because that's what you're going to do for the next 40, 50 years of your life.
And so I want to follow up on that. Like I would imagine a lot of these athletes don't know exactly what that is, right? They've dedicated their life to the game. How do you help them figure out, here's what motivates me and here's what gets me fired up about life after the game?
You surround them with people that don't care about sports. Prime example, at my firm, we don't talk about, I haven't been to a game in 7 years. I've had 3 clients playing the Super Bowl. I haven't gone. You have to have people around you that really focus on you, not the athlete. And when I say this, and I mean this with all due respect, not your agent, okay? Your agent's job is to negotiate with the teams. Don't, let us handle your marketing and branding. No, that's the mistake a lot of them make. Hire a firm that has its own separate entity that focuses, that doesn't really have any interest on the football aspect of you, but they focus on what you want to do when you're off the field.
All right, that's interesting. Can we move to story time?
This is what you've been waiting for. Oh goodness, yes. Let's go ahead and go.
All right, so Anton, here's the first story to set this one up. Okay, Anton flew in here for us to do us a favor, and since he's been here a couple hours ago, I've been hounding him for stories. You know.
Go ahead. I'll let you segue into it. Which one you want to hear?
All right, Rockefeller Records. If you've heard of Rockefeller Records, can I get a hand in the air? Heard of some superstars out of there?
Yeah, there's a few that we put out there. He's pulling up old stuff, guys, but hey, he wanted to hear it.
I'm a fan, okay? I'm a fan. Sorry.
So before I started this firm back in 2010, I was a top record executive. And the very first record label I worked at was Rockefeller Records. This is 1995, 96. And back then, there was something called guerrilla marketing. Does anyone remember guerrilla marketing? There we go. See, the older heads remember that. So when I say guerrilla marketing, you see all of these light poles and all of this stuff would just have posters up and down. And this was highly illegal back then. So this is when I first started at the label, and I was still in college. Well, freshly out of college. And this is in Washington, D.C. So I'm sure people heard of Dame Dash. Who's familiar with Dame Dash? Yeah, I'm sure everybody does. So back then, but see, this is a segue into the success of Jay-Z and also Dame Dash. Dame Dash was ahead of his time. Okay, people don't realize, he's a jerk, all that. No, he's passionate about what he does. See, not enough people are passionate about what they do. Okay, and Dame saw a bigger vision for Rockefeller than just music. That's where we had the Rockaware, we had alcohol, we had soap, we had everything. We utilizing the current platform to expand your brand. That's why Jay-Z's relevant to this day. So long story short, back then we used to have guerrilla marketing competition with other record labels. So Jay-Z was coming to town and a bunch of other artists. And literally, New York Avenue is the main vein into Washington, D.C. So whenever artists come in on the tour bus, they're looking out the window. Where are posters? Where are posters? I saw too many Fat Joe posters. I get a call from Dame Dash. Man, I can't even say. This is a PG rated, so I can't really go into
detail. I swear, but I like your.
You sure?
You're using your best judgment.
There
it's
you
good.
go.
It's
What
good.
the F is going on? This is a Jay-Z city. This ain't no Fat Joe city. I don't see enough Jay-Z posters. Now, we were up 2 a.m, okay, putting these posters up. The police came after us and took them down. So he's calling us 6 a.m. We're out there in the rain, climbing street poles, putting these posters up. But what happened afterwards is that literally Dame called us after that and was literally like, I appreciate what you guys did because our brand is everything. See, that's when I first started hearing brand awareness and brand integrity and brand. He's like, I want everybody. We're not Def Jam, we're Rockefeller. And that was one of my early stories that I could tell. There's a bunch that, thank God there was no social media or picture phones back then. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, I want to ask you one more.
Okay.
No, this came out of our conversation earlier. I think this
All right.
was okay to ask about on stage.
Yes.
All right, social media.
Oh,
All right,
yes.
we all watch the big game on Sunday. If you watch the Sunday games, raise your hand. Whoever didn't raise their hand is lying. All right, we all watch the big game on Sunday. Most of us have social media, and we see people take to social media to praise or hate on what happened in the game. And so, as somebody who works closely with athletes, I wanted to ask you about the impact of social media on athletes while they're active or after their careers.
It has a lot of impact. I tell people, like, listen, when you have a bad day at work, do you have society bashing you? Yeah, exactly. Like, do you have everyone in there? Oh, why'd you drop that pass? Why'd you do? People don't realize how mentally debilitating that could be to their so-called favorite player, where they'll take it into the next game. This game is very mental, and Monday through Friday is just as important to these players as it is on Sunday. And people don't realize how important and impactful some of these comments. I've had guys that don't look at their social media during the season, and that affects their branding. Okay. So you guys, if these are your favorite, if you really call yourselves fans, relax, and I tell people, support their foundations, support things that they're doing just as much as you're quick to go on there and say, oh, how'd you drop that pass? Because all you're doing, if you're really a fan, you're hurting your team. Be just as supportive for them during the down times as they are during the up times. So social media is very important. And if you call yourself a supporter, be a supporter.
Awesome. Can we get a big round of applause, Mr. Antone Barnes?
Thank you,
all
guys.
the way
I
from
appreciate
Washington, D.C. Literally, we had a conversation. I don't remember where I was. I was sitting in the hallway of a coffee shop last Saturday. I'm like, we had a speaker drop on us. Can you come in and do me a favor? I would appreciate it. And man, I really appreciate you coming out.
No problem. Anytime. It was one of my clients, by the way, Rodney McLeod. He dropped, so they like, we need you. So I wasn't going to say who it was. It's all right. Rodney wish he could be here. He really does. But
awesome, man. I appreciate it. One more round of applause for Antone here.
Thank you, guys.
All right. This is an active event, okay? This is not passive where we're just going to be sitting back and listening the whole time. This is going to be an active event that we are all participating in. We did our Go Lions. We did our Go Blue. We did our green and white last time. We have been sitting here now for about an hour. Legs are starting to get restless. It is time for a classic Benzinga stretch. Okay, everybody on our feet. Sorry, this is something that happens only at Benzinga events, that the MC will call you to your feet to do a stretch. We care not only about what you learn and the information we're getting here today, but also about your physical well-being. So can I get everybody's hands up in the air? Hands up in the air. All right, let's bring it over to our right. Oh, I saw some of you go left. Let's go over to our left. Okay, now everybody's got it the second time around. All right. Now we can take a seat again. And for everybody who's standing, if you are standing and you would like a seat, we have some chairs up here to the front. I was very, very particular about the seating setup where there are big aisles, plenty of space, because nobody likes to cut across. Nobody likes to sit in the middle. So if you are standing and you want seats, come over this way. I see so many people in the back. There are seats over here. Come grab a chair. And with that, without further ado, I'd like to kick it off to Mr. RJ King for our next conversation.
Thank you so much, Luke. My name's RJ King. I'm editor of D Business Magazine here in Detroit, which is a regional business publication, as well as D Business Daily News, Detroit 500, which is an annual publication of the top business leaders in Metro Detroit, and then a Monday newsletter called Hustle and Muscle, where we pair startups with investors in Michigan to just try raise the level of investment and activity and get these startups to the next level. I'm also the author of 6 books, including Detroit, Engine of America, that tells the story of how Detroit went from a French fort in 1701 up to 1900 to become the birthplace of the auto industry. So that 200 years of history here that most people don't know about. Detroit's the oldest city in the Midwest, older than Chicago, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and even Buffalo. So it's my pleasure to host this panel from the locker room to the boardroom in transitioning mindsets. To my left, we have Rob Sims, who was the 2002 BCS champion with Ohio State University, and an 8-year NFL starter, offensive lineman for the good old Detroit Lions. And to my right, we have Goster Charles, who's a former offensive tackle for the Detroit Lions, Indianapolis Colts, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he's also principal of Bastion Companies in Boston, and it's a commercial real estate development company. So I thought we'd start out with you, Goster, and if you could talk about some of the significant lessons you learned in school, but also playing that you've used today in the business world that has helped you be successful.
Well, to start with, first of all, thank you for having me. Thanks again. But it didn't take long for me to realize the same work ethic, the same code that I've used for so many years, somewhat helped me become so successful at my work as a right tackle for the Detroit Lions. Even prior to that, me not knowing what I always wanted to do, even when I was playing, I've always started my real estate development company. And during the off season, I would go back and forth. I used to always have a chance to someone like sit in the room, listen to some of my partners, and I'll come back, talk to some of my teammates. It was the same vocabulary, the same terminology. It was pretty much the same code. Then it didn't take me long for me to realize if I want to be successful at this, it was no different compared to my preparation to how I get ready for my football game, the way I show up with the type of discipline, type of work ethic. Don't let, once you put your mind to something, find the will, the work ethic, somewhat get it done, and not just to get it done. Do it, do it the right way at high class, world class level. Somewhere where you can go home, be extremely proud of what you've done, your work, and that's what we've been doing, and so far so good.
Good. And Rob, I know both of you are part of Primitive Group, as well as Calvin Johnson. But if you could talk about your experiences growing up with the team in college, maybe perhaps some lessons you learned in high school, maybe you had mentors, and how that transitioned and led to success in the business world.
Yeah, I think I had a very unique upbringing. I'm a second generation NFL kid, and so is my wife. So we always say we kind of saw the good, the bad, and the ugly of how it looks to be in the NFL and come out of the NFL and what transition looks like. And, really what reinventing yourself looks like. My dad was a 6'8", 260-pound nose tackle that, was in the retired in the, late 70s. So there wasn't like there were millions of dollars for us to just go live our lives. So him and my mom worked hard to provide for us, and they did a really good job. So I think that's the first thing I saw was just the hustle that they had and how they worked. And that translated into a lot of different areas in my life, and part of that is just being on the football field. I wasn't always the biggest or necessarily the strongest, but I just always had that work ethic and always would just go after it. And didn't matter how many times I got beat up, I was going to keep going at it. And I think that's what entrepreneurship is the will to just keep going up. There's always going to be mistakes. There's always going to be things that you have to fight through. Always very hard, difficult conversations you're going to have, especially in a new industry with new rules and everything like that. And, for me, it was just, it's just continuing to just get up, man. It just had that eye of the tiger, man. And the one thing I think I learned from head coaches in general Some of them, Jim Schwartz, Jim Caldwell, Coach Jim Tressel. They kind of told me how to what does it look like to lead and lead 53 really egomaniacs when you really think about it, right? That's what we are, man. And the fact that you can get 53 guys going in the same direction, I always wanted to be that guy in the front of the room, but my path was different in doing it with our team at Primitive. So now we're 75 people of the same egomaniacs to a certain extent that we have to make sure that we do right by those people. We shepherd those people. Those folks are family to us. And yeah, so I think I learned a lot of those traits just watching head coaches and how they move the crowd, how they move the agenda for the team.
Guster, if you could talk about Bastion Companies, how that got started, what you're working on today. I know you're based in Boston and building at least one building in the World Trade Center area.
Yes, sir. When I first retired, part of my goal was to somewhat like serving my community. We went back. I was doing some fundraisers, a couple of football camps, but we had a camp where probably about 60 kids showed up. And I was talking to a friend of mine. He pretty much said, you have the camp during the week, and some of the mothers, parents, single mothers, they're working. They couldn't show up. And I said, how can we help? He said, they need jobs. With him saying that I had a great relationship with him. He was an ex-mayor of my hometown, and we started looking at ways how we can somewhat help out a little bit. And one of the things that I had a chance to do, I had a friend of mine that I went to school with. They were getting this big development building started. At that time, I was doing my own personal real estate development project, some small stuff. There was a lot of stuff that I was doing just when I first got to the league. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, so I didn't have any education when it comes to financial advisors. So I didn't hire one because I didn't know. I was not comfortable with someone I don't even know. The day I give you my check, 1 or 2% is going to go to you. You don't have to work for it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to sit on this for as long as I can and see what I can do with it. So I reached out to a friend of mine. We started flipping homes. He was helping me out during the off season. I work with him, just trying to find ways. I was already thinking about second careers. So with all that, with me already being a part of that world, knowing what we knew, when that building was being built, a friend of mine that I went to BC with, he reached out and said they were looking for a minority partner. With him asking, I went into the meeting. I trying to help him understand if we had a chance to do this, let's do it the right way. Here are some of the things that I care for. Right now, it's the only project in Boston with a 70-30 JV partnership. Constructions, it's the only project in Boston with 80-20 JV partnership on the development part of it. It's also the only project where we have a syndication start at $15 million, where we reach out to folks, somewhat help them invest in the project, trying to change folks' lives a little bit. On top of all that, there are too many things I will come here and brag about, but that to me makes me somewhat a little happy. The fact that, I can walk into one of the ladies that work for us, and when she's leaving the office at night, tells me she's going home to her 3 kids. The fact that I know what I've done on the football field to carry me to where I am today, help me make those selfless decisions, somewhat help out with my community a little bit, that somewhat, these are some of the things that somewhat like give me a little bit of will to wake up in the morning.
That's awesome. Rob, if you could talk about Primitive Group. I know when you have a new business come out, it's people keep asking, what's it called? I mean, when we came out with D-Business, everybody kept calling it DB Business. And then once you get past that, it's you're kind of all alone, and you got to make that name for yourself. And how did you and Calvin and Goster and the initial team, now up to I think to 75 employees and growing, what was that transition like for you?
Yeah, I always think about this. Players, we're more conditioned to follow a plan, right? Monday mornings we come and they say, here's the playbook, go execute it. The thing is, when you're in the real world and you're not in that anymore, you got to be the one to kind of develop the plan. And I think the one thing that we hold on to is like, we know we don't know everything, right? We're new to business. This is my upcoming 10th year out the league. I can't even believe that it's been 10 years, but in the beginning, man, I was starting from the very beginning. You know, sometimes as players, we get done playing on this high and we think we're going to be able to walk into the next field on that same level. But no, we started on the bottom, man, and really had to earn our stripes and make our mistakes and take our lessons. But initially, it started with real estate. You know, I think, you know, you're hearing, guys are talking about real estate. That was my path as well. I owned a title company here in Birmingham for a little while. So I was understanding how to flip homes and how real estate purchases work. And then cannabis real estate was booming. Like that's all anybody could ever talk about was grabbing this property over here, doing this property. So obviously, you know, me and Cal had the opportunity to get into some deals together. Obviously, with his platform, it requires so much more thought into what you're going to do, just because you have to be careful of, you know, not only his brand but our brands as well, right? That we've worked really hard to do. So it was really about just saying to ourselves that as we kept pulling back the onion of what cannabis could be like. Well, if we did it or ran the business how we wanted to look. And as we continue to do that and the branding and things started to take shape, and it was, hey, we got these really good ideas and we got this really good story. And, you know, hey, let's grab this piece over here for human resources. Let's grab this piece over here for operation. And we kept working it and building the name. And we, you know, quite honestly, in the very beginning, we got a lot of great press, but it was national press. It was CBS in the morning press. And we had a very local product. So it was really about, okay, if we're going to be able to play on that stage, how are we going to be able to build a product that can be more mainstream? And obviously that's hard with cannabis, but we found that with CBD and our spinoff company, so to speak, Primitive Performance, is now what we're working on right now. We've got these really cool opportunities in sports. We just got NSF certified. Which is just a certification for athletes, you know, as they become professionals, right? They need to be worried about what they're putting in their body and what exactly they're using. And we've been able to do that with a product that, you know, is a CBD product. And, you know, we just had a partnership with Ford Field, not necessarily the NFL, but Ford Field in general. So that George Strait concert this summer is going to be crazy, right? Because you're going to have, you know, sponsored by Primitive as well. So like, those are the cool things that we've really been able to break some interesting barriers. And part of our vision and mission and core values in the beginning was to change the stigma of cannabis. And I think me and Calvin and Al Gosder and the work he's doing in Massachusetts, right? 6 years ago, I wouldn't think I would have a store that had the Primitive name in downtown Boston, right across the street from the Boston Harbor. But it happened. Didn't think we would have opportunities with Ford Field, and, you know, getting ready to make some other big announcements here soon. Like this is stuff that has just continued to follow us, and we've just had a lot of favor in this journey we've had. But yeah, we built an incredible team, and you know, I got one of the best partners, not only in the football field, but just people in general, and Calvin, and now with guys, you know, rounding us out, man. We're putting our team back together, so to speak, as we had here in Detroit. So I got Joik Bell in the audience over there. He's next. So you got to figure it out, Joik. So.
Well, and also you guys, you know, in Michigan now, cannabis is a $3 billion industry, and that's in 5 years. It's probably going to level off in the next year or so. There's still some untapped markets. Here in Detroit is one, places like Traverse City. But the fact that you guys were both a grower and in retail, and what were the benefits of that?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely some benefits. When we started, we wanted to be vertically integrated. That was the big word in the very beginning. Everybody wanted to do it because you wanted to be able to control it from start to finish. The flip side of the coin is controlling anything in every business is difficult. You know, sometimes this one is doing great. Sometimes this one needs some attention. But it's been good for us to learn the whole business, right? So we've learned what we like to hunt. We know what we're looking for in a deal now, and we know like where to apply different pressure because we have that view of the business, right? So, you know, now it's just about really us continuing to refine our tools, and like I said, we've learned a great deal in a short time, and you know, we're just excited about everything that's coming down the pipe for us, man. Really cool stuff.
That's great. And Gosder, what advice would you give to athletes today that are in college, even high school, I mean, we do a thing each year powered by youth where we detail an entrepreneur who's 18 years or younger. But what advice would you give to that group, to students today that are looking to get into business?
Be humble and learn how to network. I think myself, I didn't do enough of it. I don't think if you did. I walked in the room thinking I was the biggest thing in the world. I wouldn't go introduce myself to people. I wasn't taking cards. Now, years later, I took off the helmet, the jersey. I'm running into the same people. You're looking for these relationships again. At that time, they wanted to meet you. That's when you had the spotlight on you. Don't be afraid. Introduce yourself. Go out. Get out of your comfort zone. If there's something going on in your neighborhood, it doesn't have to be all about you. Show up. Introduce yourself to people. Shake hands. Introduce names to faces. And on top of that, many times after we leave the sports world, we think we have to leave everything behind for us to accept our new self. No, when you understand, your path and everything you've done to somewhat, help you become this person you become today, it's all part of your journey. It's all a part of you. It's, with the right mindset, the right attitude, it's okay if you give yourself a good enough code that somewhere you can carry on with you to the next level, that's going to serve you or serve your community, and those who are looking up to you can give them somewhat like live by. But at the end of the day, before you leave, understand you're not too big to walk around and introduce yourself to everyone, even if they already know your name. And I'm saying this, and I'm a stiff. I mean, you guys see me walking around. It takes a while for me to introduce myself to people. But I got a great friend of mine, man, and I saw it, and that's a day. I'm like, you know what? You're not too big to introduce yourself to people. Calvin Johnson was our first round draft pick. Anyone that walks into the building, he walks into the locker, introduce himself like they don't know who he is. It was after that, I'm like, you know what? It's all part of it. No, but for all you guys who somewhat still doing this, it's in your sports, everything you're doing, it's still a business. The fact that you're taking off one hat, putting on another hat, find ways to somewhat stay relevant, introduce yourself, volunteer a little bit. Don't just take, give too, So if there's anything I can say, your network, don't be afraid to network, introduce yourself.
That was great. And Coster, Rob, in what ways is Primitive Group and in your own world giving back to the community, and how do you handle that?
Well, I think we just, like everything we do, we're intentional about what we do. And I think in our vision, mission, and core values, it talks about, in any community that's going to give us the opportunity to serve, as being, either cannabis retailers or producers, we just feel like it's our duty to be able to give back in that. So we started Primitive Gives that does quarterly events. We do a big book bag drive out in Niles, which is pretty cool, seeing not only a lot of people from Niles, but a lot of people from South Bend come in, and the kids light up a little bit. We can, get kind of a, two birds with one stone, because we get to kind of touch the community and say hi to the community and be able to give back. And, just really trying to polish the cannabis industry in the way we want it to look, right? And do those things that maybe certain cannabis companies wouldn't do or wouldn't think to do, right? So, personally, me and Cal do a lot of speaking to, kids and stuff like that, camps and things like that. And then, like I said, Primitive Gives is that big thing where that's our philanthropic arm that we give through. And, it's gonna get bigger as the company gets bigger.
Okay, well, that's all the time we had for today, but please join me in thanking both Coster and Rob for an excellent panel discussion.
All right, let's give them one more round of applause. We have some legends in the house here with us today. I've got a couple announcements. All right. If you are being really loud, you can't hear me right now, so the announcement is in vain, but it is loud on the stage. If you're going to chat, we have free use of the hallway out there. Go network, mingle, etc. Take your time, get it done. I've also got a couple rules of the road for Benzinga events. We normally kick off our events with these rules of the road, but we're going to do them in the middle of the day today. Rule number 1, sit next to somebody you don't know. Okay, rule number 1 of a Benzinga event is that we want you sitting next to somebody you don't know. If you are sitting next to a stranger right now, raise your hand. It's a decent mix. All right, turn to your right, turn to your left, say hi, start the conversation. I promise you won't regret it. All right. All right. All right. We're bringing it back in. We're bringing it back together. So that was the first rule of a Benzinga event. Second rule of a Benzinga event is to make sure you follow up. We are all going to be here today. We are going to meet people that we have never met before. We are going to have amazing conversations. We are going to talk about the world and what we can do together. And nobody is going to follow up. You're going to run into each other at some point in the future. Be like, oh man, didn't we have that great chat? We talked about all these things we're going to do. We weren't going to follow up. So rule number 2 of a Benzinga event is to make sure you follow up after you talk to somebody that you don't know. With that, we're about to get Rob Sims, Joik Bell on the stage with us in just a minute here. But we've got a conversation with a young entrepreneur. If you know somebody who is under the age of 25 and owns a Lamborghini, raise your hand. I got one. He's on the stage with me. Let's get a round of applause for Josh Laurent, everybody. Put your hands together. All right, Josh. So you heard the intro I gave. Sort of interesting. Maybe we'll call this segment the 3 steps to get your own Lamborghini. Does that work?
That works.
All right. So tell us the story. How did it happen that one day you pulled up and you said, I'm outside. I'm like, what car are you in? And you're like, I'm in the wrapped Lambo. How did that happen?
So I do social media. I'm a YouTuber and everything. And I'm 23 years old, but I started YouTube when I was 17 in high school. So I started just vlogging and all of that stuff. And once I turned 18, I got a Scat Pack, and it just went from there. I went from a Scat Pack to a Hellcat to a Corvette, an AMG GT, a McLaren, and then I got my Lamborghini Huracan. So I basically just went up the ranks with car content and everything, and that's what I do. I vlog my life, but it's around cars. So I get cars, make them look sweet, and just post it on the internet like YouTube, Instagram. And I do a lot of events like rallies, like I did Corsa Rally. I'm supposed to do Gold Rush Rally with a bunch of the guys at the end of May and everything. So that's basically what I do. Just social media, YouTube, Instagram, have sweet cars, drive fast, shoot flames, that type of stuff.
All right. So is that pretty cool or what? Yeah, it's pretty cool. So all right, let me ask this one. You basically took a passion and you turned a passion into a business.
Yep.
If you had one tip or one step to turn a passion into a business, what would that look like? What would that be?
One step to turn a passion into a business, because most of the time, a passion can be a depreciating asset, just like cars. But the one step and one tip I do say is put your personality in it. So have people want to watch you for you, not for what you have, because what you have is always the asset to you. So you are the main thing, and make yourself the business and just make everything else the asset.
All right. Let me ask this one. All right. If you know what a McLaren is, raise your hands. All right. This one might make Josh tear up. If you've ever owned a McLaren and wrecked it in the same week you've gotten it, raise your hand. What happened, man?
So I could go into a lot of nerdy stuff with it, because how I build my cars, the shop that I work with, MFR Engineering, they build cars for like GT3 race cars and everything. And so how McLarens are made, especially the platform I had.
He's
I had
about
a-
to blame it on the car. This is
No,
wonderful.
listen, this is a good one. I had a 570 platform, and McLaren says that to make that platform more fun, they make it a little more squirrely. So, long story short, I put a diffuser on there. It got too much air underneath, and I was on a slight turn. It wasn't a crazy turn. It was a slight turn, and the car just like slid out and went head first into the wall. And then it just like wrecked out and everything. But, you know, everything happens for a reason. So
All right.
I wasn't too worried.
Last question for you, Josh. So you said you've had a Scat Pack, you had a McLaren, you had the Lamborghini right now, the Corvette. Favorite car, what would it be?
My favorite car would be my Corvette. I don't know why I love that Corvette so much, but it's tied with the Lamborghini and the Corvette. But so far, it's the Corvette. I don't know why, but it just is. It's a good car.
Awesome. All righty, man. Well, thank you for being here. How can folks stay in touch or follow up with you?
You can follow my Instagram. It's Josh Laurent with 2 T's at the end. And my YouTube is just Josh Laurent. So you can see all the good stuff on there. But when you watch my video, make sure you're eating dinner because it's a banger video. Each video banger. So.
All right, that's it. Let's give it a round of applause for Josh getting up here with us. All right. I would like to welcome to the stage Miss Rachel Decker. Has some NFL legends coming up with her. Are we having fun today? Yeah. Are we excited about the draft in Detroit? Yeah. All right. And are we still Lions fans? Yeah. Go Lions.
Oh, these chairs, not big boy friendly.
How you guys doing out there?
Good afternoon.
How you guys doing out there? There we go.
Yeah.
Good
Go.
afternoon, everyone. So I'm Rachel Decker, the president of Detroit Philanthropy, which is a local consulting company that works with a variety of charitable causes.
Wait, Rachel, before you get going.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just so loud. Can everybody who can hear me give me a shh, shh. Quiet down these people in the back, okay? This is a Benzinga event. We get a little different. We get a loopy. One more time. Can I get a shh? So everybody in the back will hear us. All right, Rachel, keep going.
All right, that's a lot of attention now. So I have had the pleasure throughout my career to work with a number of athletes on their charitable giving, including both of these gentlemen, dating back to when they were playing in the league. So it's really exciting to be here and have this opportunity to chat with them a little bit more about why they do what they do. And hopefully you guys will have a chance to learn a little bit more about what they do off the field as well. You know, these guys are known for their very tough exteriors, but underneath it all, there are some very big hearts that are just really care about the community and want to give back in any way they can. So first up is Drake Bell. As most of you probably know, he's a Michigan native. He played college football at Wayne State, went on to play with not only the Lions, but there's a list here, the Eagles, Colts, Saints, and the Bears.
Buffalo as well.
Yeah, Buffalo. And then since retiring in 2020, he's turned his attention to advancing literacy education in his hometown of Benton Harbor, Michigan, through the Drake Bell Charity Foundation. And he's also the co-founder of You Charge Up and a seasoned real estate investor and entrepreneur. Rob Sims, who you guys just saw on the last panel, but he is a 3-year starter and national champion with the Ohio State Buckeyes. I know, mixed reviews here in the Michigan audience. Yes. He was then drafted as a lineman in 2006 by the Seahawks, where he played for 4 years before being traded to Detroit, where he played for another 4 years. And since retiring, Rob has also been recognized for his philanthropic contributions and service with a number of charities throughout the community. And as you just heard, he founded Primitive with former team Calvin Johnson. So wonderful. So thank you guys for both being here. Before we talk more specifically about the nonprofits and organizations that you're involved in, I'd like to just start by asking about your why. So why is it that you have been, so committed to the community and wanting to give back?
I mean, I think for me, I just, my parents are those like giving, big-hearted people. I remember like, being a young kid and my dad being like, hey, get in the car. We're going to go down to the church and cut the grass. Right. And we'd be in church the next day and they'd be like, somebody cut the grass. And my dad would be like, don't say anything. He was kind of just that kind of guy. If you were hungry, he would feed you. And I just, that was just in me, and that was part of what I wanted to do and how I was raised and my faith. And yeah, man, I just feel like I've been so blessed that, how dare I not give back, really? You know what I mean? It should be a discipline, not just like really getting a pat on the back for it, right? It should be something that kind of goes along with, being successful and having opportunities that I've had.
Yeah, that's wonderful. How about you, Joik?
What was the
Do you
question?
remember the question? Just a little bit about
My mic is off.
your why.
Hello? Here we go. There we go. So for me, it's a little bit different. So I grew up in a two-parent household to the age of 10, and my father left. And so growing up, I had a godfather and a lot of other mentors who kind of took me in and showed me the way. So my godfather, I'll never forget it. So he was a community dad. So I remember he would move kids in who lost their homes and would stay with them. And I always saw that and always looked up to him as this is one of the men that I want to be like when I grow up. So as soon as I graduated and went on to play at the next level, I knew immediately I wanted to give back. When I say immediately, my first year, I started up the Drake Bell Foundation just by doing football camps and dance camps, celebrity games. And after a while, I told myself, you know what, I want to do something for these kids that's going to benefit them 10, 15, 20 years from now. And one thing that while doing my research, the high school that I went to was rated a 1 out of 10, and I didn't know why. And once I started to do the research, 95% of our kids were reading below grade level. And so when I saw those shocking numbers, I knew I had to do something. I didn't know what I needed to do, but I knew I had to do something. And so I found a group that was actually formed here in Detroit. It's a Detroit-based literacy company that can have grade level movement with all of their students within 4 to 14 weeks. 10th grade, we had a 10th grader that was reading at a 5th grade level, went through the program, tested out reading at 11th grade level. And just like that, we changed that kid's life for the rest of his life. He can go out into the world. Thank you.
That deserves some applause.
So that's my why.
No, that's really wonderful, and I think it's important to note that both of you touched on how you were raised that way, right? It's something that you learned in your homes from a very young age, and I think that's how a lot of us find our way to philanthropy. So kudos to your mom and dad. So Joy, you talked a little bit about the literacy programs and the work with the Drake Bell Charity Foundation. Can you just talk maybe a little bit more about Beyond Basics, who you've partnered with, and if maybe anybody in the audience wants to get more involved, how they would do that?
Yeah, so so Beyond Basics has their own website. You can go on there. And it's so cool, right? You can not only be a part of it, but if you want to learn how to be a tutor, they would train you on their format and their platform and their philosophy on how they teach students how to read so quickly. It's a one-on-one intervention. We work with kids 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. If this is something that you want to learn, the training is about 2 to 3 weeks. And that's something that you can take with you so you can work with anyone that you want on your own. If you want to become a tutor and work with the program, feel free. You can reach out to Beyond Basics directly, or you can go on drakebell.com. And we have a contact us. You can guys send us an email. And we can make all the connections.
That's great. Thanks for that. So Rob, you took a different path. You didn't actually start your own foundation, but you are involved with a lot of local charities, Detroit PAL being one of them, the Children's Center, Yatuma Foundation. I think the list goes on. So could you maybe just share a little bit about those organizations and what your passion is for their mission?
What we did instead of going the foundation route is me and my wife set up the Robin Natalie Sims Donor Advised Fund, because we also saw giving as an opportunity for us to invest those dollars so we could have more dollars to give. but with the understanding that we wanted to give a lion's share away while we were playing, because we thought we can make impact with our time and where our platform was at. So the first thing we saw was in Detroit Powell. I mean, they were serving 14,000 kids at the time. There were a lot of guys that were in the professionals that had played Detroit Powell. So we knew that it was benefiting some people. They were feeding them, they were doing, reading programs and things like that. And I just thought it was a great idea for me to be a part of that. So I actually joined the board for a little bit. And I think the best thing I did while I was part of the board was the movie CTE came out, and the buzzword was CTE.
Yeah.
Right. And it was all this mess about what was going on at the professional level. But kids are probably more susceptible to head injuries than we are.
Right.
Right. We train ourselves different. So what guy with Beaumont Hospital was able to give a sizable donation, and they were able to actually put a concussion protocol in for not only football, but all the sports that they serve. So that's kind of one of the big things. The Children's Center was the same thing. It was given to kids. We like Yatuma Foundation. Norman was a guy that I met here. We had a very similar story about our fathers dying at a young age.
Yep.
And I saw the impact it had on my sister as she was younger when that happened. And just I understand how people can slip when that happens. So was able to do some work with Norman, the Children's Center, and like I said, the list goes on and on and on. We've just been we've had so much favor and had so many great opportunities, and really, there's a lot of people doing a lot of great work.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the thing that we don't. It's not just hey, give me money. It's a lot of people that are out here that are really, really helping people, and your dollars can help.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. So if you guys aren't familiar with some of those organizations, I would encourage you to take a look into them. They're all very worthy causes. So kudos to both of you for all the great work that you're doing and giving back. So just, beyond your official charitable endeavors, your status as former professional athletes means that you have a lot of requests coming your way, right? People wanting you to make appearances at their fundraisers, hoping that you'll just share something out on your social media accounts because you got a ton of followers, all of that. So I'm just wondering if you can maybe share some about what goes into how you make those decisions in terms of what you're going to get involved with, what you're going to lend your name to. There's a lot of worthy causes, and it can be hard to say no. So how are you picking and choosing? Joy, do you want to?
Yeah. So for me, whenever I do anything, I have to have some type of attachment to it and some type of passion about it. And the reason I do that, because when I have that passion about something, nothing falls through the cracks, right? So usually when people do certain things, I want to make sure they're doing it for the right reasons. So even with Beyond Basics, before I brought them into Benton Harbor, I had to vet them out. And I vetted them for about 6 months before I even brought them in. And it's not because I didn't believe in what they were doing, but I wanted to help out my community, and I saw what they were doing align with what I wanted to do. And so that's one of the reasons why I went into their headquarters and had to sit down and fought so hard to get them to Benton Harbor. And so that's a friend that's passionate about something. Say I had a friend that might have passed away for cancer, right? So that touched me emotionally. So of course I want to support anything that has to do with that because I was affected by it.
Yeah.
And so usually there's so many great causes out there that you don't want to stretch yourself too thin when you're neglecting one cause, because like I said, there's so many great ones and everyone's doing their part, right? And so I think I kind of stay in my niche because this is where I'm comfortable and this is where I can make the most impact. But for the most part, that's how I vet out mine.
Great. How about you, Rob? What goes into your decision making?
I mean, first and foremost, look at the schedule.
Yeah.
That's the biggest. That's the biggest thing.
That's a big part of it for sure.
The biggest piece is just look at the schedule. But I mean, think for us, echo what Joy said, man. It's so important for you to vet different places, and really, it's really about how much impact they're having. If you see that they're having an impact, then it's worth it. I just, I'm free as I'm going to be giving to my heart. I'm going to be giving from my heart. At the same time, those dollars, like, they have to do something, right? It has to move the needle for them in some way, So
Yeah.
That's what I would try to focus on. How does this move the needle?
No, that's great. All good things to think about because as many good worthy causes there are also some other, some not so great organizations.
Another thing, look at the results.
Yes.
So that's
another
big
results,
part.
impact are very important. So when you guys think about your legacy, right, not just what you did on the field, but what you're doing off the field and in the community, what's really important to you? You know, what is it that you hope you'll be remembered for when it comes to your philanthropy?
You know, I think remember for, you know, I don't want to get too caught up into that. I mean, I think it'd be great to have a Rob Sims library one day. I'd be
There you
lying
go.
if I didn't say that, right? But I think ultimately what I want, man, I got a young son. If he could be on a platform like this one day and like, why do you give? Hey, I did because my dad did. You know
Right,
what I mean?
yeah.
That'd be the biggest for me. It's just being that example for not only him, but, you know, my daughters and anyone else that cares to listen, any other young person that cares to listen. Like there is like I said before, should be a discipline. It shouldn't be something that necessarily you're praised for. It should just be something that it's a piece of you. It's part of the recipe of what makes something successful.
Yeah. So to piggyback on that, how are you getting your kids involved, right? As a dad, what are you making sure that they're learning about their charitable giving?
You know, I bring them to you know, I mean, it starts at the church for us. So, you know, they, you know, Sunday morning, they're getting their dollars and figuring out, you know, hey, what your 10% was and what
There
that
you
looks
go.
like. Right. So that's, you know, that's our early teaching tool. But, you know, when we are praised in the media or there is something written about us, I make sure that I sit them down and so they can understand that it's an impact and like, hey, this isn't daddy playing football. This is daddy giving back.
Right.
Right. So they can see the difference. So they don't get caught up in the, oh, my dad used to play football. Right. They get caught up in, hey, my dad maybe played football, but he's doing this now. He's doing this with primitive and they can be proud of all of it. Not
Yeah.
just part, you know, just not a piece of it.
No, that's wonderful. Joy, how about you? What are you hoping you're remembered for with your charity? And then if you can talk about, you are a father as well. So how
Yeah,
you're
so
passing
no,
it on.
I mean, like he alluded to, like being a father, that's number one. Now, football is great. Football is what we did, but it's not who we are. I think what we do in this game is that we use football as our platform, and it gives us that platform to be able to reach a plethora of people, right? And so I think I think we have to be very intentional in our work. And so for me, I started early. I had my son my first semester in college, and for me, I always had the mindset of I don't want to tell my son to do something that I never did. So I went to school, I got my degree, went back to school, got my master's. And we speak about legacy, right? And it's not just my son. I have nephews, I have younger cousins who look up to me like a father figure. Point in case, my nephew right there filming. He goes to Wayne State and he watched me play at Wayne State. Now he plays for Wayne State football, and also he plays running back. Right, my son is there at Wayne State playing football. My younger cousins at Wayne State playing football. My other nephews there playing football. So these are all kids who watched me grow up. Well, watched me as they grew up playing at Wayne State. And I mean, obviously, I must have some type of respect from them to want to walk in my same footsteps, the same way I want to walk in the same footsteps as my godfather and wanting to give back to my community. So,
No, that's all really important. So just for my last question, you know, for the young athletes that might be in the audience or those that are watching the live stream, what would your advice be for them about how, you know, as they think about, right, do they want to start a foundation? Do they just want to do some volunteer work? What's your advice for those young athletes?
You know, I think it's important that you understand the work that goes into doing a foundation is not easy.
Yeah, Drake learned
That's
all
the
about
biggest
that.
thing. And, you know, I know you guys you guys work together on Joyce Foundation.
Yeah.
You're doing a whole lot of foundations,
Yes,
and
yeah.
you know, I'm getting emails from you all over the place, right? You know what I mean? So it takes a village to do a foundation is first and foremost. So it's a business. You got to almost run it like a business, right? And you know, I think that's the thing is just knowing what goes into it. And if that's not for you, there are so many other opportunities, whether that's time, hospital visits, you know, donor advised, like I said,
Yep.
just writing a check, you know, giving some time. I mean, it is endless how you look at it, and it's a discipline. That discipline, though, is just a piece of your overall success in a way, right? You know, we always talk about, hey, earn big so I can give big.
There you go.
Right. So I you know, that's the thing. I am a for-profit, want to make a lot of money kind of guy, but right behind that, I want to make sure I give a lot too.
Good. Well, I'll be sending you some more emails. Joyce, advice for young athletes? Maybe some lessons learned with running your foundation?
For sure. It's a couple lessons. So the first lesson is when I play, you know, you want to keep the main thing the main thing. Football is the main thing, pays the bill.
Yeah.
It puts food on the table for you and your family. But I will also suggest every offseason that you do some type of program in the offseason, whether it's an internship, a broadcast boot camp, sports media boot camp, whatever it may, business boot camp. They have these programs every offseason for players to be able to tap into, because the transition out of the league starts before you're out of it. And so one thing I really focused on was trying to figure out what I liked and what I didn't like before I retired. And as far as doing anything dealing with charity, I would suggest that you find someone that's in it, shadow them first, see what all goes into it, learn the ins and outs of it, because it is a business and you have to run it as such. And it's a nonprofit, so you want to make sure you're doing everything right, so you're not jeopardizing your 501c3. And so that's one thing that I learned, that I had to learn kind of on the way, because I wanted to give back. I wanted to make sure I was doing it in the right way, where I was being effective in my community.
Great. That's all wonderful advice. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to have this conversation. I learned a lot. I hope the audience did. So thank you guys.
Thank you guys for having us.
Enjoy the draft.
Mic check 1, 2. Okay. My name is not Luke. Luke had to go take care of something, so they brought up the backup quarterback. I'll try to be good as Tom Brady. Probably not. But give it up one more time for Rachel Joyk and Rob Sims, please. All right. Next up, we've got our man Jason Rasnick, who's going to go ahead and moderate a fireside chat with Paul Rosenberg. Give it up for that one. See, here's the thing. If you don't clap harder, I get fired. So one more time, give it up for that fireside chat coming up. Appreciate the bonus.
What's your better side? Okay, fine. All right. Someone left their phone here. You guys do not like, okay. All right, we're good. Okay. All right, you guys, feel free to come in and trickle in. I know we have a lot of people here. This one is very exciting. I don't know if you guys know the Paul Rosenberg story. I don't know it all, but Paul Rosenberg is an entrepreneur. He made stuff happen on his own, got a law degree, went on and built a music business like no other, works with arguably the #1 music maker, I would say, of the century. And we are so excited to have him. So first, can I hear it for Paul Rosenberg? Come on, a little more. Let's go. All right. And we want to give him Benzinga Award. Wanted to award him with the Detroit Inspiration Award. When you have guys from Detroit who take the hard knocks, go the hard roads, and make it happen, he probably doesn't think it was that hard. He just made it happen. Benzinga wants to award it. I'm gonna give him the award. Hold on.
Wow, thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I don't get many awards.
You don't get many awards?
We get them for our clients, right? We don't really. We're not focused on ourselves like that.
Yeah, but see, the clients like Eminem wouldn't be what they are here. We've taken it out for 1 second. Let's hold it up.
Sure.
So the camera can get it. That's right. So there we go. It's the real thing. Hey, what's up, Tompkins? Yes, what's up, man? There's some great people in this room. There's some great people that are doers, like that guy there, Ralph, Mr. Ralph. You guys are awesome. But I'm super excited to have Paul here. So Paul, honestly, like when you were in your young 20s, let's say 22, what do you think you were going to be doing with your life?
So 22, I had graduated undergrad. I went to Michigan State. Go Green. I know there's a lot of
green, go white. All right.
That's okay. So yeah, I graduated undergrad and I was on my way to law school at 22. Yeah.
Okay. And then did you think you're going to law school and you want to be a lawyer?
I did. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, but at the time I thought I wanted to be a music lawyer. So my goal was to get my law degree and start practicing music law. I didn't know whether
that was going to be like through a record company or through a firm, but definitely was focused on being a music lawyer. I didn't want to just be a regular lawyer. I knew that because there was too much of that I had seen, and people were just like miserable. Right.
So growing up, what kind of music were you listening to? I'm talking about you're 10 to 20 years old, like the range.
I started listening to rap music when I was like 11 years old, and that pretty much became everything for me.
Was it like Two Live Crew?
Before that, I'm talking like, you know, the first rap record I heard, I think was The Message, the Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5, and I was just sort of hooked. But you know, really got into it around the debut of Run DMC and all that. So earlier, like we're talking like, you know, 84, 85 era, 83.
So you were a huge fan from the get-go.
Yeah.
Did you ever want to be a rapper?
I ever was a rapper. Yeah.
Yes, you did. So,
yeah, I did.
right.
I was a rapper. So when I was 22, actually, I was making the decision that I didn't think that was really going to be my career. Right. It was sort of like,
why not?
The fork in the road. Like, are you going to really go try to be a rapper, or are you going to use your brain and go to law school?
Well, how'd you know? Like, were your verses not like what?
No, we were doing pretty good. We actually we were signed at the time. We had a deal with a local label called Hoops, which was run and owned by John Sally from you know, the Bad Boys
Spider.
Pistons.
Do you know what number he was when he played basketball?
I can't remember.
Oh my God, he was my favorite player ever. My passwords to my house, to everything is John Sally's
You just
number.
gave
22.
away your passwords to your house?
I really just did. 22 because of John Sally. He let me ball boy from Piston games when I'd be there. I love that guy. But go
yeah.
ahead.
So Spider gave us a record deal. We were signed to his label along with Slum Village, which was JD's group, and some other artists. But yeah, you know, it was slow and it wasn't really moving how I wanted it to, and you know, I didn't know whether I was really gonna put all my eggs in that basket. So I went to law school.
All right. So you went to law school.
Yeah.
And then comes law school. You're finishing law school. While you're in law school, aren't you like at night, like hanging around places, hearing music? Like, how'd you get to?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was still very connected through the local music scene because of the time that I spent being an artist. So I knew a lot of DJs and I knew a lot of different artists. And, you know, I would tell everybody, hey, you know, I'm in law school now. And when I get out, I'm going to be your lawyer. I'm going to represent you and I'm going to represent you and you. Right. So I stay connected with the scene. And, you know, more specifically, there was a place called the Hip Hop Shop on 7 Mile, which was owned by a clothing designer named Maurice Malone. And Maurice had on Saturdays, they would do an open mic at the Hip Hop Shop. And I was good friends with the DJ, and I would just come up there and watch people on open mic. And then they had battles occasionally as well.
So is that kind of portrayed in the movie 8 Mile a little bit? What was the Hip Hop Shop?
Sort of, not really, because that was more of like a retail clothing store, but certainly the same sort of vibe and the scene that was around back then. Yeah.
That was actually one of the sweetest scenes. Like I mean, I know that's Hollywood, but it's kind of real life a little bit.
You talking about like the parking lot freestyle?
No, not the parking lot. In the bar, and he's like, Clarence went to Cranbrook. I love that line.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about the end of the battle, the final battle.
Yeah. That was Did that ever happen? That kind of stuff?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when guys are battling, they use whatever information and weapons they have against their opponents. So yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so you finish law school, and you're to tell everyone you would be their manager. How did you Eminem connect?
So back to the Hip Hop Shop, there was a guy who used to host the battles every week. His name was Proof, and Proof was very close friends with Eminem, and Proof at the time was sort of the guy that everybody thought was going to be the one who's going to break out of Detroit and make a name for himself, and you know, finally bring Detroit on some sort of national stage. So I was friends with Proof, and I was going to be his lawyer as well. And he told me one day, I want you to stay after the battles are done today because there's somebody I want you to check out. And I said, all right, cool. And he just had this like sort of shit-eating grin on his face. And he looks at me and he goes, he's a white boy. And so he would said it to me like that because he knew I was a rapper, and he was, you know, that I would, he was like, you know, poking me a little bit.
So I stayed. They cleared everybody out. And in walks this guy who I can remember like it was yesterday. He's wearing like this all white sweatsuit. He's kind of scrubby looking, a little pudgy. And he's like, "This is Eminem." So I was like, "Great, nice to meet you, whatever." And they threw on some beats and he rapped. And it was sort of like an audition in a way. But, you know, I thought he was really good, but it wasn't like, "Oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen." And, you know, the heavens parted and the sun shined through. It wasn't like that, but it was like, yeah, this guy's quite good and, you know, stay in touch, whatever. And then a month or two later, I was back there at the hip hop shop and he was releasing his debut album completely independently and was literally selling cassettes hand to hand. Right?
Did he have money? How do you like make a debut album?
No, he didn't have any money. He had hooked up with a local production company who was funding it. Yeah. So he was selling the cassette hand to hand, and I bought it from him for $6.
Okay, so you buy the cassette from Eminem. You meet you randomly see him at a party or on the street.
It was at the hip hop shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you buy the cassette and then you listen to it, and then what?
Again, really good. Well constructed, very good technical rhyme sense. But it wasn't there in terms of the songs and more so his delivery. He hadn't really found his voice yet.
Okay. So now so you're not really interested in him yet. You're not like,
I'm interested, but I'm not like, this is it.
Okay, so what happens?
This is really good. I'm gonna stay close to this, see how it develops.
So what happens from then to you're like, we need to, like, you guys work together? Like what? Like there's
Yeah. So I moved to New York after law school in '96 and stayed in touch with everybody here. And then I got a phone call from that DJ. His name was DJ Head. I got a phone call from Head. He was still at the hip hop shop DJing on the weekends, and he said, "You really need to hear the new stuff Eminem's doing." So I said, "Great." You know, I didn't know how to get in touch with him. I'm not even sure if I had a cell phone at that point. This is 96, 97.
So like
97.
car phones were a thing then, but
no,
not.
they had cell phones. I just couldn't afford one. Okay. So anyway, I got in touch with him and I called him and I said, "Hey, here, you got some new stuff?" And he's like, "Yeah." And, "Do you remember me?" "Yeah, of course." "Can you send it to me?" "Sure." And he sends me this cassette. And on the cassette was the sort of bare bones of what became the Slim Shady EP.
Really?
Yeah. So it had like Just Don't Give a Fuck and Just the Two of Us. And then I was convinced.
So then you're convinced, and like those songs were on there. Wow, just don't. Okay, so then
early versions of it, but yeah,
it's amazing because your nickname back then was Paul Bunyan, right? Like, yes, you were like, and so then you and Emmett are talking. So then you're like, okay, I like this.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go for? Well, the reason I ask, this event is about like inspiring people. There's ideas. There's a guy I know who has a flag football business. There's different people that have ideas. How do you take idea to execution? This guy, I mean, as much success as you could possibly ever imagine went from idea to execution, and we all know what Paul Rosenberg and Eminem. I mean, dude, you're in the song a bunch. Paul, don't do that. Like that line, I was always wondering who this Paul guy is, and you're freaking here on our stage right now. Isn't that crazy? By the way, I used to listen to this Paul, like, "Paul, don't do that." And I'm like, who the hell is this Paul guy? He's here right now. It's kind of crazy. All right, I mean, it is crazy. But so what goes from that, and how do you guys decide, to work together?
Yeah, so I started off, I thought, I was going to be his lawyer. And so, one of the things that music lawyers do is they act sort of as an agent and bring demos to record labels, right? So my job at that point was go find him a record deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so did you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't a straight path though. And, nobody really wanted to sign him.
What year was that?
97.
97. So I was just getting out of high school. Okay. And no one really wanted to sign him.
No.
And so what'd you do?
I didn't give up.
You just kept a lot of closed doors and you just kept knocking?
Yeah. I mean, look, at the time in 1997, the landscape was very different for hip hop music, right? So being a white rapper was not seen as a favorable thing. It was like, you know, there wasn't that many success stories. There was the Beastie Boys. Then there was like the unfortunate things like Vanilla Ice. And in the middle, there was like a group called Third Base, but there wasn't really a great, authentic white rapper that people really accepted. So it was like, why do I want to go down that road? There's plenty of other stuff that I can do that's going to meet much less resistance than this. So I said, you know, you shouldn't. If you don't believe in it, then fine.
So, but you finally get someone to say yes. Why do they say yes?
Well, the someone was Dr. Dre.
So there was no in between. It was Dr. Dre that finally heard the EP.
Yeah. So we went out to LA and we were doing some stuff on the radio, and I'll make a short version of this. And M was freestyling on the radio. Apparently Dre heard him on local LA radio. And one weekend he was at Jimmy Iovine's house. Jimmy Iovine at the time was the chairman of Interscope. And Jimmy brought a bunch of demos back that we had gotten to his assistant that got to Jimmy.
That's hustle though.
Like, yeah. No, there's a lot in between there. I'm just making it
You're making it short. Okay.
And, you know, Jimmy had the cassette and Dre was going through his music and said, well, what's this? And he said, you know, I don't know. It's this kid. They're supposed to be really good. You should take it and listen to it. So he takes the cassette and he listens to it and he says, oh, wait, that's the guy I heard on the radio. And he calls up Jimmy and he said, I want to meet this guy. So they got in touch with me and that was it.
And that is the beginning of, you've worked together now for 27 years, 28 years?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So that's like that's loyalty. It's everything. Because a lot of these guys switch off and you guys just have a relationship that. Like,
yeah, I was very lucky that he's a loyal guy. Yeah, for sure.
What advice could you offer the audience, the virtual audience, anything about how to build relationships and overcome obstacles? I mean, I'm hearing how, you know, Jimmy Iovine getting to the assistant and you're with a person for almost 30 years. I mean, that's longer than most marriages.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think there's two things in the, you know, what I just was talking about, I think that are the most important, and you sort of hit on them. But, you know, the first is, you know, loyalty is very important, right? For some reason, I find less and less that people value it like we did back when I was coming up, but it's extremely important, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today without that sort of sense of loyalty in the relationship that we have. And then the other thing, I guess, is, you know, you just shouldn't take no for an answer. And I know that's simple and you hear it all the time, but it's so true. If I took no for an answer, like I wouldn't be doing anything.
I mean, if I took no for an answer, Paul wouldn't be here. You know how many times I had to annoy this guy?
It's true.
Yeah, it's true. I tried everything, but no, but I just think you guys see a real life person that's sitting in the seat you're sitting in from Detroit that has made us proud. You know what I mean? Like extremely, like, it's not like they're out doing, you know, like what they've done. I honestly have anyone that I had here today. We have from big time, you know, Hall of Fame football players. Paul Rosenberg is a demonstration of like success, but through hard work. Like I can't even imagine what he was like, how to get a record to this person, how to then not get screwed by a TV contract. There's probably so many things like that you have learned the hard knocks. You should write a book, actually. You probably, I mean, eventually you don't want to.
Maybe one day. Maybe
all right.
One day. We'll see.
I would love to go longer. I know we have to go rapid, but Paul, thank you for coming. Oh, I forgot to say that there's a food truck back there.
Yeah. Mom Spaghetti.
So
yeah.
Paul, Eminem, Mom Spaghetti. It's part of the rap. How does it go? Can someone do that?
It's from Lose Yourself.
Yeah, I know. There's like Mom Spaghetti. Someone did it for me last night because I was.
We shouldn't embarrass ourselves.
Yeah, no, I won't do it. I thought someone would just stand up and do it, but it's all right.
People know what the line is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a food truck right outside the window in the park over by Campus Martius, and
Mom
we'll
Spaghetti.
be there today, tomorrow, and Saturday.
Get stuff, and then Paul.
We've got merch too. We got Mom Spaghetti
merch?
draft merch. Yeah, officially licensed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You guys got to buy. See,
we know the commissioner now.
You really?
Yeah.
Because the commissioner's your boy, right?
We're a big deal. We're tight with the commissioner now. I call him Raj.
You call him Raj. Yeah. Roger, Raj. All right.
Raj.
All right, guys. Let's thank Paul Rosenberg for coming out. Thank you. Don't take no for an answer, Brian.
All right. Are we having some fun today? Woo! Do we love the city of Detroit? We love that the draft is here. And I've asked it again, or I've asked it earlier, I'm going to ask it again. Do we have some Lions fans in the house today? Can I get a big go Lions? Woo! We are keeping the day rolling. We're switching up sports a little bit. We have some Olympians, we have some world champs who are about to be on the stage with us, moderated by my very good friend, Mr. Spencer Bentley. Vosa Spirits, check it out. Does anybody here like to drink? Does anybody like free booze? In the back corner, free booze out that way. Go grab some. It's cold. It's on ice. And without further ado, Spencer, I'm going to pass it off to you, my friend.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Luke. We have two absolutely amazing people on stage today. We have Clarissa Shields, dominant boxer, mixed martial artist, the only female boxer to hold four belts in 4 weight divisions at the same time. And then we have an Olympic track star, Crystal Manning. We're going to talk today about how their time in athletics blends into their time in business. So Clarissa, I'll start with you. Can you share any lessons you've learned from your experience as an athlete and kind of how that helps you when you go into business? Yeah.
Testing. Ooh, very loud. Okay. No, the question you asked was, can I share what?
Yeah. So how does your experience as an athlete at the highest level, how does that help you translate into your business?
Well, I guess as far as in my career is always just do what no one else is willing to do. So I do that as far as when it comes to business too. So I'm a boxer, fitness trainer, a mixed martial artist, and I do some movies and I do some acting. So with that, I just put in a whole lot of time and just try to juggle all of it and just do what people won't do. And that's just put in so many hours and trying to be great at a craft.
Right on. Would you, hello? Oh. Would you say that it's something new in business, or is it something from the start of your career you always wanted to get into?
No, when I first started boxing, I was 11 years old, and then I won the Olympics when I was 17. So that was my first Olympic gold medal. And then I won the Olympics again. So throughout my childhood and throughout my life, my only goal was to just be a great boxer. It wasn't to be anything else. Like I didn't think of myself doing anything else until I got older, probably about I turned professional and I won world titles. But when I turned about 25, that's when I was like, you know what? I want to see and I want to do other business ventures because I had won everything in boxing. Like I'm a 13-time world champ, 3-time undisputed. Thank you. It's so many accomplishments. So now I feel like now that I have I'm the best in women's boxing. It's like now I want to do stuff that's out of boxing. So that's why I act now and motivational speaking, fitness training, and YouTube and stuff like that.
You have a YouTube channel?
Yes, I do. Clarissa Shields Quote channel. I'm at 50,000 subscribers right now.
All right, check it out.
For sure. Get with me. 100 is on the way.
And then Crystal, how do you obviously recognizing track and field, it's such a demanding sport on you, on your body and everything. How do you balance that hyper competitive athletic career with what you're doing in business, and how does it help?
Right now, as a track athlete, I'm also a filmmaker, award-winning filmmaker. And I balance it because, I was always creative, naturally started writing as a child. And when I was, living at the Olympic Training Center, I would get done with all my training sessions, but I would be so bored and I would just start writing. And then my writing turned into a film, and I just won Best Independent Film HOP Award, Hollywood and Prestigious Awards in Los Angeles, California this past fall. And also was invited by the Television Academy, the Academy Awards, to be mentored, by some of the great filmmakers. And so it just was me being bored when I get done with training. And I felt, I want to be aggressive in the film industry as well. So it was just, that's how we do it.
Yeah, and you're also preparing for the upcoming Olympics next month?
Yes, so we have our trials in June in Eugene, Oregon. and I will be in women's triple jump.
Awesome.
Great luck.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Clarissa, if you're one thing transitioning from being a full-time athlete to a full-time or part-time business person, what are some challenges that you think you may have came across when doing that?
I think that we're trying to have a career. Like right now, I'm a undisputed boxing champion. I do mixed martial arts with the PFL and MMA, and then trying to be like a businesswoman that requires you to have your hair and makeup and certain clothes you have to wear. I kind of just juggle them all at one time, but the main thing is I feel like sometimes I don't have enough time. That's what it is. So it's like with time, you have more time if you get up earlier. So when you hear those guys talking about getting up at 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock, it's because they want more time to do all the things that they want to do. So sometimes I see myself getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm done working out by 9. And then I can, make a YouTube video. And then I can also train boxing before 12. And then after that, you still have to diet and eat. Then maybe I can go and get my makeup and stuff done by 2 or 3 o'clock and can do some more stuff like that. That's all about the image and the brand. But it's just time is something that I find sometimes I don't have enough of.
Got it. And when you're training for MMA versus boxing, is one more tasking than the other?
MMA is sick. It's very sick. MMA is harder than boxing, I think, because I started boxing when I was 11 years old. I was naturally good. I was taught how to box, and I was a complete fighter by 3-4 years of boxing. But MMA, you got boxing, kickboxing, jujitsu, wrestling. You have all these different arts. And sometimes the training, you just get injured. Like you're working on learning how to sprawl. And the first time I even attempted to go for a sprawl, I almost freaking banged my knee up. So it's like, and then you get kicked and you have to learn how to block kicks. But how do you even care to block a kick if you've never been kicked before? So MMA gives me more bumps and bruises than what boxing does, for sure. And the training is definitely harder because it's so many different arts.
Yeah, I have a very, very small amount of experience, but you do get your whole body like totally sore when you're doing MMA.
Yeah, I think the wrestling makes me sore because I'm a natural born fighter. I think everyone here knows that if they see me fight. And I just know how to fight. I know how to, I know how to win a war when it like comes to human contact. But with MMA, just the hardest part is like, how can I do a fight that I don't know? So I know how to wrestle a little bit now because I've trained it. But at the beginning, I didn't know how to wrestle and I didn't know how to fight off my back at all. So learning that was very challenging. But like I said, you put in the time and the work and you can become great at anything.
Right. Crystal, when you're, is there at any point in time where your experience as an athlete has helped you in your entrepreneurship and filmmaking? Is it translated well?
Yes, it made me, once I invited by the Academy this past year, it made me, study film more, study the grades, do a lot of research, and, it helped me, I own my own full service entertainment company called Industry Entertainment. And on the side of production, we also manage artists and talent. And we just signed Bootsy the rapper, new Afrobeat twins called KT Bling or Badass Twins. And so it just helped me be more aggressive in the entertainment industry, and living in Los Angeles helped me, navigate through meeting and networking with different artists and all the heavyweights in the industry. So I'm just learning and off of them and just studying to be greater.
Awesome. How long have you had the movie? Is it movie studio, film production?
Yes. My company has been established since 2014. We're based here in the U.S. and also in Accra, Ghana, Africa.
Wow, that's amazing. And you've been doing track the whole time that it's been established?
Yes. I partnered with my mother. Thank God she's here because she helps me run it. And also we have a team of people. And it's quite funny that Lamar Woodley, we're supposed to be on a panel early with him, but he's also helped my entertainment company as well with having events at his, I think it's like a center here in Michigan. We've had events there, like competitions, talent competitions there through my company. And Lamar's late uncle was my business partner, Terry Staples. And so it's really just good to have people like Lamar, who also, was in the entertainment that I worked with my company. And just, like I said, just being aggressive from, learning that from track and field, but also taking it into like the entertainment industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's absolutely amazing that you guys can both manage these things, because just even managing business alone is extremely taxing. To like combine this level of like absolute elite of like your sports respectively, just crazy. So tons of respect
Thank
to
you.
both of you.
Thank you.
And how many Olympics? One Olympic?
I won one Olympic, one Olympic going there, one as an alternate, but one competing. And I have not gotten a goal. And this year is my goal for gold. Okay.
Awesome. All right. Clarissa, mentorship. How important is that as you excel through your career path? How important is it to help the generation under you?
Well, I know coming up, Serena Williams was my idol. Even though she was in tennis, it was like she was the best ever. And she was pretty, and she was kind of built the same as me. So I always had like, to me, a representation matters. So even though she was in tennis, it was like, I want to be as great as Serena Williams in boxing. Right. So she was my idol, her and Venus. And I got to meet Venus at the Olympics. And I think that the mentorship is just knowing that somebody who looks like you and come from where you come from, or like somewhere similar, just makes you believe that you can do it. So, me being from Flint, Michigan, yes, the city with the water crisis. All the kids there who I've been in person with, they all feel that they can be just as great as me or greater. And I feed that into them, and I give them tips, and I answer questions. And I've mentored so many girls just in boxing who are coming up that I don't even speak on publicly, because it's like when they feel that it's time to give me my praise, they will. But right now, it's so many girls that inbox me on the daily asking me for advice, or how did I make it to the Olympics? Not once, but twice. How did I win gold? And really, it was just having one goal, and that was nothing else. And all I thought about from the time I was 13 till I was 17 was, what can I do to win an Olympic gold medal? So the representation matters, and letting these kids know that it's possible. And they know it's possible because they see it. So you have to keep showing them more and more it's possible. And the harder you work, the easier everything will be.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's incredible, just the whole journey. I mean, the amount of times you've won is insane. So that's great. I guess the similar question for you, are you, I'm sure when you're in track, training on the track, there's a lot of people younger than you looking up to you. Do you have any like shared experiences with people through mentorship, or just even advice, I guess, that you work with?
Yes. A lot of people, I have from the entertainment, people who coming out to reach out to me for opportunities, and also, younger athletes. I just pretty much, the person I looked up to was, because growing up was Tyra Banks, because initially before sports, I was into modeling. And so it's just, different from Serena, but I love Serena now because she is just so dope from sports and transition to business. And even with her, cosmetic company she has now, it's just like amazing. But I literally just give them tips, just work hard, stay focused, don't give up. Even on the bad days, even on the days you are in pain or sore, just keep going and training and just staying focused. A lot of times you can have distractions from greatness. People or outsiders come into your life that should not be there, and they come in to pull you from your goals. And so a lot of times that you have to put yourself around the right people, people that's not trying to tear you down but lift you up. I've had all types of people, come in my life, try to take have financial gain from me, or just trying to be my friend because they want to get on the red carpet in Hollywood or something like that. So you just kind of be careful with who you have surrounding yourself. I mean, my circle is so small, it's not even a circle. So just stay focused and stay grounded and don't give up.
Agreed.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you both. I think that wraps it up here. So if we get a round of applause, thank you for letting us know more about you both. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more round of applause. Let's hear it. All right, all right. This is a Benzinga event. All right, we not only want you to take advantage of the amazing speakers that we have, the world champions that we have on stage, but we know your legs get restless. My legs get restless too. So I'm calling for another stretch. This is round 2. Everybody up. Stretch our legs out. If you're standing, there are seats over here off to the left. Reach for the sky. Everybody reach. We're going all the way up. Can I get everybody off to the right? Stretch it out. Somebody did left again. We're going over to our left-hand side. Again, if you need to sit, if you're standing along the wall, please come up. Everybody go ahead, take a seat. And I have another very important question for you all. Do we have any Michigan fans in the house? We have some Michigan fans? Can I get a go blue? One more. Can I get a go blue? All right. And without further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage a good friend of ours here at Benzinga, Mr. Jared Wangler and Mr. Donovan Edwards, ready to tear it up this year. Thanks for being here, guys.
Oh, no, we got to go closer.
Is
There we
this
go.
on? All right.
Awesome. All righty. Well, appreciate the Benzinga team. Can I get a round of applause for our hometown Detroit Lions? We are. Special thank you to Benzinga, Jason Razik, and team for having Donovan and I out. Very excited to dive into NIL and a championship mentality. So today, we're going to dive into the realm where the principles of athletic excellence meet the evolving landscape of sport and individual branding. Traditionally, success in sports was measured solely by victories and championships. But we now find ourselves in an era where success extends far beyond the scoreboard. It encompasses the cultivation of personal brands, leveraging opportunities on and off the playing field, and advocating for equitable treatment, particularly in college athletics. At the core of this transformation lies the championship mentality, a mindset characterized by resilience, determination, and unwavering commitment to excellence. Simultaneously, the landscape of collegiate athletics has been reshaped by the introduction of name, image, and likeness. Athletes now navigate uncharted territories, balancing athletic pursuits with entrepreneurial endeavors and redefining what it means to be a collegiate athlete in the 21st century. So today I have the pleasure of sharing the stage with my dear friend Donovan Edwards. Donovan, how are you feeling today?
Doing blessed, man. Appreciate everybody for being out here. Thank you to the appreciate Jason Resnick for allowing us to be up here. Excited to give a plant the seed of wisdom into people's minds. Hope we don't bore you guys, but I'm ready to roll.
Amazing. Well, Donovan is born and bred West Bloomfield, Michigan. Now he's rising into his senior year at the University of Michigan, fresh off of a national championship game. Give me just applause there. Another round of applause for Donovan. We'll start here, winding it back to January of 2024, coming off of the national championship. Donovan, what does a championship mentality mean to you, and how do you embody that day in and day out?
So a championship mindset, what it means to me is, you're always going to have adversity, and there's always going to be things thrown your way, right? But a real champion, they're going to see it, they're going to overcome it, and they're going to embody other people around them to be able to persevere and to overcome adversity, right? So for an example, Coach Harbaugh wasn't there for 4 games for us, but for us, it's like, okay, that's great, or it's not great. Like, it's whatever that he's not there. But at the same time, like, we are so prepared that we're going to win the games even though he's not there. So that's a championship mindset for us. We're going to be able to not only overcome what's thrown at us, but we're also going to dominate. And we're not going to allow anybody to overcome or to be able to throw anything in our obstacle for anything that's in between us and our goals and accomplishments. So
Donna,
that's championship mindset for me.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I think that one of the most exciting things for people that have had the opportunity to spend time around you in particular and the entire team over the last 2 years was just this culture, right, of a championship mentality, waking up, staying concentrated, holding each other accountable. How are you taking that next step, knowing that this is your senior year, right? This is the definition of your Michigan football team, your offense. How are you carrying that through the offseason? And what are you excited about with this football team this upcoming fall?
No doubt. So I've been able to sit behind great leaders and see what they have done, for us to be at the position that we are today, right? So for me, it always reverts back to my 2021 freshman year coming in college. And it was tremendous guys like Aiden Hutchinson, who has a poster right up in the middle of Detroit, of his face. It's guys like him and Josh Ross, Hassan Haskins, who embody what it is to be a Michigan man for us, right? Like cleaning up after yourselves, cleaning up the locker room, making sure everything is spotless, and leaving, no doubt that we're going to achieve our goals and do everything that we sought out to be, right? So for me personally, it's my obligation to be able to uphold that standard, right? To continue to do the right things, to have a championship mindset. People have been saying for us recently now that, we lost a lot of guys. A lot of people are going to be drafted today, tomorrow, and, these upcoming days within the draft, right? And that's great. I'm very happy for my guys, but at the same time, we also have to move on forward, right? So for us, the guys who are here this year, that it could be us next year, So the thing for us is being able to embody, what it is to be a Michigan man to the younger guys, right? The younger guys came into the program with a 15-0 and they won a championship, but they weren't there for the defeats against Georgia and against TCU. They weren't there for that. So it's up to us to be able to continue to embody, what it is that the reason why we are successful where we are, and could allow other guys to be able to be in that leadership roles when we leave. So that's what it's all about. And, the guys like Aiden Hutchinson, Josh Ross, they've embodied that amongst us for us to be able to take that forward and implement it to other people. So, that means that the program will be successful for the next 20 years, the next 5 years. And, that's what the culture for us is all about.
It's amazing. I mean, the embodiment of passing the torch, right, from one leader down to the next, right? That is a championship culture and how you build on it every year. For those in the room that are up and coming, that aspire to be in your seat one day, what are some tips and what's some advice that you could pass on to those who want to be a champion like yourself?
Absolutely. It goes for the adults as well. We're all going to go through some type of adversity. We're all going to have to persevere. And for me, my belief is that once you go through adversity introduces you to yourself, right? So if you're a person who's going to shy away from the trials and tribulations or just quit, then that's who you are. You're a quitter, right? For an example, for me, last year, the past season, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. And that's perfectly fine, right? I could have easily quit, but I'm not a quitter, and I won't allow myself to quit. I have a lot of obligations. I have a lot of ambitions to be able to achieve and to spread it upon others. So, for an example, I wasn't getting the carries that I wanted, wasn't getting the touches, and that's perfectly fine. I had to also look at myself in the mirror and ask myself, what am I doing wrong, right? But to be able to continue to persevere and to have resilience within yourself allows you to understand who you truly are. And that's just my thing. Like, I inspire for other people to have the mentality of, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to get better, instead of being soft and just quitting, and that's the Michigan culture. Like, we don't allow quitters or people that, that aren't competitive enough to be able to compete at a high level. Like, they're just going to have to go. And if there's people that's around you that have that mentality, then they're going to have to go.
It's amazing. Well, look, we're going to do a quick pivot here into talking about name, image, and likeness and how it affects you personally and how it's affecting college football and college athletics as a whole. Can you share some of the strategies that you've employed to help build and manage your personal brand and everything that comes along with this new era of college athletics?
Absolutely. I think that this NIL thing allows young adults, young men to become adults, young men and young women to become adults, right? So we're sitting here in a building that was created by somebody, and that person has had a team to be able to build something successful. And in the NIL space, it's the exact same thing. You need to have a team around you to be able to become successful. And I think that's what's most important for me, is to be able to have the right people around me to be able to be successful, or to reach the amount of dollars that I want, or to be able to donate it. So being able to have the right team around you is something that everybody in the NIL space needs to have around them.
Can you share a little bit of insight on how you actually build that team? What are the needs, whether it's legal support,
Yeah.
whether it's accounting support, financial advisor, endorsements? How do you view that? And how are you managing that from an individual being a student athlete, which is one of the more time demanding types of responsibilities as a young adult?
Absolutely. So there's no order, right? You need an agent, you need marketing people who are going to be able to market you well. You need a financial advisor, you need accountants, because you're going to have to pay taxes on the money that you're making. And most importantly, you have to hold up your end of the bargain as well. You have to be able to perform at whatever sport that you're in, or whatever it is that you may be doing. So it's those four people that you need. It may be more, I might be missing something, but at the same time as well, you need to be able to hold up your part. And if you want to reach an X amount of dollars, if you want to have goals or accomplishments that you want to achieve, you need to hold up your end of the bargain. And if you want to hold other people to a high standard, you need to hold yourself to a high standard.
Can you share some of the potential drawbacks and challenges associated with name, image, and likeness? It's become this nefarious, headline grabbing type of dynamic in college athletics. What's kind of the underbelly, right, that you see happening in the locker room, and what ways would you suggest to fix it, if there are any ways?
Yeah. So I would say that some people, I can't necessarily say, like some people are just quitting, but, they're going through tough times, it may be in the program, and somebody may offer them X amount of dollars to go somewhere, and then they take it, right? Versus for me, for an example, like I stayed behind, I played behind two people for 3 years, right? And I waited my turn, and I didn't quit, and I didn't leave because I was offered money to go somewhere else. That's not in the rules for, somebody who has high standards and high expectations and high goals for themselves, right? But at the same time, you see people that are leaving to go somewhere that's not beneficial for them, that's not going to set them up from 40 years from now, because college is 4 years and it's going to set you up for 40 years. But some people are taking money to go somewhere else instead of, what I would say, thugging it out to be able to just stay at a place that's going to make them a better individual and set them up for success in the long run. So that's kind of a drawback, like people are just leaving to go somewhere else instead of allowing them to grow as a person and to go through adversity, because some people may, be the man since their freshman year of high school, but now all of a sudden, like, money's involved and now they're leaving instead of, like going through tough times to sharpen themselves as individuals. And that's a drawback. It's things that at that point where being a better individual is taken out of the picture because you're all of a sudden just quitting on or just leaving where you're at to become, or just for some money.
Appreciate that. That is a big picture perspective. And to be able to carry that at your age is really incredible. So I appreciate that. I want to leave with one last question because we're bumping up on time here. What's your favorite part about the scene here in Detroit? This is one of the biggest weekends that I'm just turned 28 from Royal Oak. Like, this is one of the coolest things I've experienced being downtown. What do you love about draft weekend? What's been exciting for you?
I see some Michigan jerseys out in the crowd, right? Which is great. I see a lot of blue jerseys supporting the Detroit Lions. That's in here and that's out there. That's great. What also stands out to me is that the draft came to Detroit. I'm not sure if y'all are from Michigan as well, but my hometown. It's great to see. There's a lot of people that are out right now supporting the draft, supporting their own fan base, whether it be Michigan State, Michigan, the Detroit Lions. It's a lot of support throughout the community, and it's a lot of camaraderie here, and we're all embracing and enjoying it with each other. So, it's beautiful to see.
It's amazing. Well, Dono, I appreciate your time this afternoon. Can I get one more hand of applause for national champion Donovan Edwards?
Appreciate you guys. Go Blue.
Go Blue. Thank you all.
All right. We've done it 3 or 4 times. I'm going to do it again. Can we get a go Lions? Go Lions. There we go. Can we get a go Blue? Go Blue. We did it once. Go Green. All right. There we go. All righty, guys. I'm going to keep us rocking and rolling. We're going from one U of M legend to another. I'd like to welcome onto the stage Mr. Barry Klarberg. He's the president of MAI Capital Management, professor at the University of Michigan, and a Yankee team owner. Everybody give Barry a round of applause. I promise you, these stories are great.
Shoes up there, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're a Michigan fan, you need to go ahead and take a look at these shoes here. Yeah, we're full go Blue on this stage for this hour. All right, so Barry.
So it's interesting. They had a top Michigan athlete, warm up for me and all. So I feel good now about it, right?
All right, now you ready? Feel good? Well, Barry, I've gotten to know you recently.
Yeah.
And the stories are incredible. Top-notch stories. Yankees. Could you start us off with a Yankee story? I mean, you are a team owner of the Yankees. How did that happen? Do you have a favorite Yankee story for us?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today, and I really appreciate it. I come here quite often. I am an adjunct professor at the University of Michigan, and I constantly give back to the school, and I'll give back to a lot of the schools. I didn't go here. I tell students when I got here 8 years ago that I wasn't smart enough to get into the school, but I can teach here. So it's worked out pretty good and all. But it's interesting with the Yankee situation. It came about, about 10, 11 years ago. And one of my partners said, the Mets are having some financial difficulties. And I said, yeah, I'm watching the whole Madoff thing take over and all. And he said, we should go in there and put an offer together for them. And I went in there, and they said to me, we'll sell you an extra percentage of the team, but we're not going to sell the network. And I said, all the money's in the network. If you think about it, it's all TV revenue that funds the entire team. And then I ran to the Bronx and all, and George was still alive at the time. And we agreed to buy a certain percentage of the Yankees, my partner and I, and it worked out great. And the first situation that I was dealing with George Steinbrenner, he had all the new owners come down to the locker room, and Johnny Damon had just been traded from the Boston Red Sox to the Yankees and all. And part of the ritual for when you become a New York Yankee, you got to shave all your hair, your facial hair. It's not permitted. There's no they really? Let mustaches go for a little while, but if you had a beard or anything like that, you had to cut your hair and be well groomed on the field. And George walks into the locker room and he sees Johnny Damon with his beard, full beard. And he said, Johnny, I spoke to your agent. You got to shave before you go on the field. He said, this is my personality, George. Like, this is everything. In Boston, they didn't have a problem. He said, well, this is the New York Yankees. So Johnny says to the boss, he says, Jesus had a beard. And George goes, what? He goes, Jesus had a beard. If Jesus played for the New York Yankees, would you make him shave his beard? And George looked at me. I'm like, what? And I said, I think he said that he thinks he's, allowed to have the beard because he's referencing Jesus Christ. And George is like, okay, I got it. And he took us downstairs to the first floor, and walked us across the street at a municipal pool, in the middle of South Bronx. And he had Johnny go on the other side of the pool, and he yells to Johnny, if you can walk over the water like Jesus, you can keep the effing beard. And that was what we dealing with and all. So it was a happy, good time and all, but the exposure to the New York Yankees have been fun.
Awesome. And I want to ask you one more story before we really get into the heart of the question. So last Saturday, we were at the Nicki Minaj concert that you invited me to. Hey, can I get a show of hands if we have some Nicki Minaj fans in here? All right, there we go. I'm a Nicki fan. How did that come about that you got to be working with Nicki?
Well, it was an interesting story. I was at the national championship in Houston for the University of Michigan, and I was sitting in the stands, and I get a text from an attorney, and he said, "You're going to get a call in about 5 minutes. So somebody who wants to meet with you." And it turned out to be Nicki, and she said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm actually in Houston." She goes, "What are you there for?" I said, "I'm here for a football game." I said, "What kind of football game is there?" And I told her, and then basically she said, "Can you come over to LA?" And I flew to LA the next morning and all, and sat with her. And, it's interesting what I tell clients and all, and I've been blessed to represent some real prominent athletes and entertainers and families and all, and so blessed and so grateful for the opportunity that I have. But what I told a client is really interesting. I made a comment to her. I said, the omission of the truth is a lie. So if I lie to you and said those are ugly shoes and all, you're going to be like, okay, that's fine. But if I hold back and I'm trying to do the right thing or tell you something that you may not want to hear, and I don't give you the truth, the omission of the truth is the same thing as a lie. And that's what I said to her, and that's what I said to all my clients and all. I'm going to tell you what's going on, why I think things should be different, but I'm not going to hold back. And I don't think that's something that it's in my nature. It's being forward. And ultimately you're providing guidance for these people and all. And I've been doing it now for about 30 to 40 years, and I have a pretty good track record. So it's been okay.
So let me ask you this, Barry. You manage over 100 clients.
Yep.
How do you effectively manage over 100 clients? I mean, I can't imagine managing 100 people who work for me, let alone people that, you're working with them.
Very demanding people, but very smart, very sharp, and they want answers. The first thing that I learned is I have to be proficient in what I do, and technically I'm pretty sound, but I need a good staff around me ultimately at the end of the day. You're only as good as the people around you and all. And I spend a lot of time building confidence of people. And it's interesting. I did this study of the people that we hire in our firm and all. And there's what's more important, technically proficient or trustworthy? And trustworthy always wins out. Like, I want a person that if something goes down, I'm in the bunker with, I'm like, you got to take care of this. And I know it's being taken care of. I don't need the smartest guy. I always argue that with my partners, like, we should go to Ivies. I go, I didn't grow up in Ivy League. I don't need that. And what I was better off doing is just being very trustworthy. And if you're trustworthy, you get the job done. And at the end of the day, that's what people want to have. Families that we work with, or athletes or entertainers, they just want it. They want the true story. They want the answers. And then the other thing is you just pick and choose the people that you want to be with. Early in my career, I did a okay job. I wasn't picking the most sound people to work with. And I made some mistakes, and you learn from that, but today things, I look at our business and what we've done. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So you've been serving as a financial advisor, as a manager for these clients. How has the industry evolved? Where do you see it going? What's changed from when you started your career to now, and what's the next step?
Well, a lot of our clients are athletes, and the first thing that comes to the big change right now is this NIL nonsense, and it is nonsense. It's just a bunch of, can I curse?
You can curse.
It's fucking crazy what's going out there and all. It makes no sense at all.
We're gonna replay that. Fucking crazy
and all. It actually makes no sense what's happening right now. If you go back, and I spoke to Congress, and they asked me my opinion, and I said what the Supreme Court said when this thing came down a couple of years ago, that schools can't lean on the backs of the athlete to make money. And if there's monies to be made, there has to be a sharing of the revenue. And that's what we expected. And now what you see is not the sharing of revenue. It's actually the schools. The University of Michigan makes more money with NIL because they get a percentage. If I want to use the Block M, I got to pay for the Block M. So if Jared Wrangler, who does a lot of work in the NIL business, he's got to pay the University of Michigan. So the school's getting richer, and all the schools are getting richer. They're laughing to the bank, all the way to the bank here. And I think ultimately what you're going to see is when I spoke in Washington, I said, you need revenue sharing. You totally need revenue sharing. The Big Ten teams this year will make, I'm hearing anywhere between $70 to $100 million. Okay. And then if you take the star on the team, JJ McCarthy, I can't believe he's making more than a few $100,000. I don't think there's anybody at the University of Michigan that's making more than a few $100,000. Yet the school is making a lot of money. It's funny. I speak what I want to say. They can't fire me at the University of Michigan because I have 100 students who will protest. You want to talk about protests? I'll have protesters. I know how this stuff's going to go down.
How do you feel about the no, just kidding.
What's that?
I was going to say, how do you feel about the protest, but we won't go there.
No, I don't. I can't go there at all. I can't go there.
All right. So you talked about the teaching. What is it? You talked about your teaching.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to be a professor at the University of Michigan? Why do you do it? It's obviously not for financial gain, and you've already accomplished so much in your career.
It's all ego. It's totally ego. I'm just being straight with you. It's like I wake up in the morning. I could be walking around New York City wearing an M, and people come up to me and they go, "Oh, you went to school there?" No. "Oh, your kids went to there?" No. "Well, why are you wearing it?" "Because I teach there." And they're like, "You teach there? What do you teach?" I go, "Sports management." That's pretty cool. Okay, that's pretty cool. And in my life, that's got to be in the top 3 things that I've done in my life. The reason I teach is not because of ego, it's because I give back to students. I have 6 students, 6 children. None of them listen to me. I have 100 students now at the University of Michigan. Every semester, they all talk and they all listen. So I have people listening. The other thing, it keeps me young. It keeps me focused on new things that come around. And I got to stay current on things that, people who I compete with. I can sit there. I can discuss NIL. I can discuss whatever it is. I'm there and I understand it, and it works pretty well. But I've been doing it now for 8 years, and anybody who wants to come, I welcome you as a guest.
Awesome. Let me ask you this, staying on teaching at University of Michigan for a second. What's something that surprised you about your experience there?
Most of the people it's a really interesting part. I grew up in New York City. I went to school at a place called Pace University. I was an accounting major by trade. My professors were all actively involved in practice, in business. I learned from people who were actually doing what they taught. When you get to the University of Michigan, the business school, you don't have, let's call it, traveling professors. I'm considered a traveling professor. I'm one of 30 professors in sports management. I'm the only professor that actually is involved on a day-to-day basis in the world of sports. That was the thing that surprised me the most. They have experience, or they had when the dean sat with me and she goes, "Where's your textbook? What are you going to teach?" And I said, "What's ever on my desk the week before." And I'm going to give these kids and the students something that they've never gotten before, realistic conversation of the things that are going down. I have every student sign something of confidentiality. And basically what I tell them is the stuff that's going to come out, like we did an analysis a couple of years ago, should Giannis, the Greek freak, stay in Milwaukee? And that was something that one of my partners was dealing with and working with somebody. And you make decisions based on realistic facts as opposed to something that's been in a textbook for a number of years.
So let me ask you this, either in class or out of class, what are some of the challenges that the world doesn't see? Like, what are some of the challenges that you walk into and you're up against every day? How do you get through them? We just mentioned 100 clients. You're traveling to Ann Arbor every week.
I'm pretty straight on this. I deal with, let's call it mental health, as something that I take serious. I'm just straight. I was dealing with stuff about 20 years ago. I couldn't figure things out in my life. My brain was kicking in all the wrong way. And I went to a doctor and he gave me some medication and he fixed it. Mental health is an important thing that I take as a very serious thing with these students. And I do it myself. I live what it's interesting. Not everything is perfect. Like I started off today leaving the house at 9 o'clock, being delayed different things. The day didn't roll as good as what I thought it was going to roll. But I went to gratitude. I didn't go to anxiety. I didn't start flipping out. I was like, I'll get there. I may not be the first, but I'll be the last, but I'll be there. And I made sure I was there. But I go to gratitude a lot in my life, and I'm really smart when it comes to that, how I use that as a mechanism to fight. You can't, listen, I deal with a lot of tough things in life, but I lean into the sharp points and all. I don't run from things, I run into things. And if I can deal with that, then it makes life a lot easier.
Awesome.
That was a good answer, right?
That was a great answer. Round of applause. Let's get it going.
You know what? Yeah, we had a conversation. I said, if I do this, I want my own talk show now and all. So we'll.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
we'll get it in order.
Where's my agent? I need an agent.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll do it here.
Pop to Ann Arbor, get you over to
I can
Detroit.
pop here. I like downtown Detroit.
You might move here. You might say, "Hey, New York, I've been doing it a long time."
I'm all good with that. I considered moving to Ann Arbor.
Okay, I mean, Ann Arbor. Who here has spent some decent amount of time in Ann Arbor, Michigan? Is it now one of the best cities in the country? Yeah. Barry, you're filled with stories, right? You started us off with the Yankees one. I want to end with a question about somebody who's just building their career. But could you give us another story?
Charlie Sheen story.
Yes. Does anybody want to hear a Charlie Sheen story? Yeah.
So I dealt with Charlie for about 5 to 6 years. And he went through this tiger blood episode in his life. And he had 4 children at the time and 5 children at the time. And there was some issues regarding his child support. And I was party of a judicial hearing at a court, and the judge said to Charlie, he said, "You're a really good-looking guy. Why do you pay for sex?" And he said, "I don't pay for sex. I pay for them to leave."
Oh my God. And what was the reaction?
Judge understood that.
The judge got it? All right. So it helped.
Judge understood it.
Awesome. Well, Barry, let me ask you one more. Advice that you have for somebody who's either going into wealth management or going into some sort of business career. What is some wisdom you'd bestow upon them?
Understand your trait. Understand what you have to do. Be educated. Be smart. Don't make decisions based on money. I see that happening too often. I see people who young students who say, I'm going to jump at this job. I'm going to make more money by doing that. And I would say, are you learning? Are you learning where you are right now? And the answer is yes, I am learning where I am right now. I've seen students, interesting with the portal at the University of Michigan, try to jump from the university to another school. And I would be like, the degree that you'll get from the University of Michigan is probably worth a lot of more money than you can ever expect. And what I say is, I started making money in my life probably after my 10 years of working at Deloitte. And the reason I did that was because I had a trade and I learned, and I constantly was educating myself. And when I stopped getting educated and was more administratively driven, I decided to go on my own and start my own business. But I think what people realize today is that money is important and you can make money, but you have to pick and choose the clients. You have to pick and choose the situation. And at the end of the day, you have to be smart. And the other thing that I would tell you to do is that the problem and the solution doesn't rest in Barry's brain. I'll have a problem. I have to go to outside people. I have a board of directors that know nothing about my business that I will go to, and I'll spend time with them, and they'll say, did you think about this? And what I realize is that Barry doesn't know everything. I'm constantly reminded of that. And if I can be in a situation where people help me, and it could be students, it could be whatever, but if I get through it, it turns out to be a better decision.
Awesome. All right. I know. I said that was the last one. Can we get one more story? They're so good. You had your Yankees one. You had Charlie Sheen.
I'll give you one more Yankee story, which is I don't know. Sandy Koufax. Does everybody know who Sandy Koufax was? A Jewish baseball player, and the World Series in 1964 were the Dodgers, the Brooklyn Dodgers against the New York Yankees, and the first game of the playoffs or the World Series, Sandy Koufax was going to pitch. And he walked into Walter Austin in his room in the clubhouse, and he goes, Coach, I can't go tomorrow. It's the Day of Atonement. It's a Jewish holiday. And he goes, what are you talking about? He goes, it's the most sacred holiday, and I can't work. And he said, okay, I hear you. And Walter Austin, the manager, walked down and goes into the locker room of Don Drysdale and says, Don, you're throwing tomorrow. He goes, no, Sandy's throwing. He goes, no, you're throwing. It's Yom Kippur, and Sandy can't throw. You're throwing. And he goes, well, I'm not ready. He said, you have no choice. You're throwing. So he starts off the game. He gave up 8 runs in the first inning.
Oh.
And Walter Austin walks out to the mound and for the exchange when he gets the ball back. And Don Drysdale takes the ball and puts it in Walter Austin's hand and goes, don't you wish I was Jewish?
There we go. Round of applause. Everyone. Barry Calder coming all the way from New York City to see us. Awesome. Barry, thanks for being here.
Thank you all.
I need to.
Clean up like this, man. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. Man, it kind of. This is a little bit.
Yeah, Donovan lost his phone.
All right. Who stole the phone? Oh, there it is.
Technical difficulty.
All right, we're going to go ahead and have Dean go ahead and kick things off for us, and we've got one more afterwards. Dean, it's all you.
Thanks, Sunid. Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is, wow, what an incredible event. Thanks to Jason. Thanks to Jerry. Thanks for sticking around. Beautiful day, beautiful city. Special day for so many athletes out there. So my name is Dean Archibald. I lead partnerships for the most disruptive cloud infrastructure player on the world. I'm privileged to do that. I'm privileged to be here today with some of our guests. We've got Zach Doreniowski, AKA the MD Motivator. Zach's got 30 million followers on social media and is one of the top advocates for mental health in the world. We've got Cameron Miller, CRO's Chief Revenue Officer at Money Pickle, a local startup that focuses on revolutionizing financial education and accessibility, democratizing all that for many people out there. Welcome, Cam. And then we got Jared Irons, two-time team captain, two-time All-American for your Michigan Wolverine football team. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Jared, let's start with you. You've been successful in your career. Why is mental health a priority for you? What are you embracing and prioritizing the most?
Well, it's important because when I played and started my career, no one really talked about mental health. It was always about, look, if you're not feeling well, hey, just get back out there. You'll be all right. Brush it off. No one talks about it. But now we have more avenues now that we can talk about mental health. So it's helped me, obviously, in business. It's helped me. Me and my partners, we have a hope desk where people can call, 1-800 number, whether it's businesses or universities, that if they have any issues with mental health, former players or current players, they can call that number to get the help they need. So it's always been something that I've thought about and something that we need in this society now.
Yeah, more now than ever.
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
How do you leverage your platform to promote mental health awareness, advocacy for positive change?
I think mental health is everything for me. So I started making videos when I was in medical school in Australia. So the name MD Motivator stands for Medical Doctor Motivator, because during the pandemic, I was studying medicine in Australia, and obviously at COVID, raise your hand if maybe that was the time where you lacked connection or felt a little bit alone. So for me, that's how I felt. I didn't really know who to turn to. And one night I went out and I sat on the ground. It was raining. I was crying hysterically. And these two women in their late 30s came up to me and they said, "Hey, what's going on?" And I said, "I'm good." They're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I'm okay." And what they did right there changed my life. They sat in the rain for 30 minutes and listened to a stranger. And it was that moment that I realized I needed the connection, that I wanted to be that for somebody else, even though I wasn't really good myself. So mental health is everything and is a core, and everyone is human, has emotions. So I always try to advocate for mental health, whether it's men's mental health, women's mental health. You never know what people are going through, so always be kind.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
Cameron, how did you come to believe that personalized financial education was a pain point that needed to be solved? And when did you make the decision to pursue it from a business perspective?
A few years back, Brent, who's one of the co-founders of Money Pickle, he was working in a financial firm, and he was around financial advisors every day. So if he ever had a financial question, he was able to ask someone. And then he thought to himself, no one else has this. So how can we create something to where anyone in the country can reach out to a financial advisor, get their questions asked, and get clarity on their situation? And tying this into mental health is financial stress it's one of the leading factors of stress in the country. I mean, especially, going on with the economy today, some people are, they're fighting. And we wanted to provide them with a tool to where they can reach out to a financial advisor, get a better understanding of, mapping out their finances, to where they can be a little bit more comfortable in their skin. They can go about their day in a little bit in a brighter way, if you will.
Yeah, that's incredible. We were just in the back room there talking with Jarrett and Lamar Woodley and talking about, that they're in a position to pay it forward, and they're really committed to doing that. And it goes well beyond, what their responsibilities are as people. And it just says something about the character, really, to all of you guys up here. So we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Jarrett, let's go back to you. Can you share any lessons learned from your experiences on the field that later translated to your business life?
Yeah, I think that, especially, I grew up in a football family. And, my dad played 10 years in the league, and my brother played, at Notre Dame, and my older brother played in Nebraska. So, we come from that family, and that football family. And I think that, just sports in general teaches you to work hard and persevere like no other. And it gives you that template. That's how life is to me. You always you're going to get knocked down no matter what you're doing. And having that athletic background and being able to push through in sports, it's allowed me in business and multiple businesses that I own and work in. So it's always played a part in everything that I've done.
Dealing with adversity and getting through that as probably a young child, and how that translates later to life's challenges. Thanks for that. And I can't imagine what Thanksgiving's like at the Irons house with the backyard football with a lineage like that.
We just won the Natty. I don't know if you guys. Thank you, Donovan. So it's been good in my household. I've been talking a lot of smack.
Yeah. Go blue.
Go blue.
Zach, let's come back to you. We're seeing the landscape shift from traditional celebrity endorsements to content creators like yourself taking a center stage with all things advertising. How are you navigating? How are you pioneering this new category?
That's a good question. So I think the biggest thing, on my Instagram, it says kindness is cool. So my goal is to bridge the gap between traditional and the new wave. So we've done videos now with, you name the celebrity. We've done kindness videos with Kim Kardashian, Kevin Hart, Wayne Gretzky, athletes, celebrities, Post Malone, Jason Derulo. And I think it's about, as cool as it is to have those crazy names doing like the kind things, it's just about the emotion that it hopefully evokes. That when you watch a video, you act in your own life. You don't need to give away $1,000. You don't need to give away Super Bowl tickets. You can hold the door. You can buy that person the coffee. You can call your mom. You can go to the nursing home, see your grandma. You can do the small things, because the small things is the superpower that we all have. So I hope my videos can do that and people's own hearts and lives.
So let's all follow Zach on social.
Also, I challenge everybody here in the next 24 hours to do one random act of kindness.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Cameron, since the launch in 2021, what has been the most significant piece of feedback that users have given you that's led to improvements and things on your roadmap?
Yeah, that's a great question. Believe it or not, the users always have a positive experience. That's one thing that's been so cool is, being a small company, all of the customer support is handled between 4 people. So we get to speak to all these people directly, and it's all positive. They're all so thankful. But the best piece of feedback we ever got was actually from a few of the advisors. Because the way we used to market it was a free financial help desk. So people would see that and they'd think that's interesting, but they'd go into those calls with no idea of what they wanted to speak on. They'd just kind of be like there and just staring at the advisor. Okay, like, what are we talking about? And then we started tailoring all of our messaging and verbiage in our marketing to retirement planning or estate planning, legacy planning, tax optimization, and even family planning. So people, when they see these things, they have an idea of what they want to go into that call with, and those advisors are able to act on that and be able to go more in depth and in detail with those people, which has been much more effective for every single individual case of people calling in.
And I'm sure their passion rings through. As a fellow startup, early stage company guy, we have more than enough reasons to go work for a massive corporation, but it's usually the passion that draws you, the purpose that draws you. So I'm sure when your team's on the phone with your customers and users, their passion really rings through, and I'm sure that makes a material impact on their experience.
Yeah, it's so cool, and that's I can't remember who I was speaking to, but they said, when your company gets to big enough to a point where everything's automated, you lose that human connection with your audience and with your customers. So the fact that we're able to talk to these people directly, it means more to them and it means more to us because we're able to understand the impact that we can make.
That's really special. Thanks, Kim. Jarrett, there's a lot of athletes in this room, young athletes. I think I saw maybe an 8-year-old, and we've seen some 21-year-olds about to go and make a huge move in their lives for them and their families. What advice might you have for some of these folks?
Best advice I'd give you is just surround yourself with good people that you trust. When you're in the limelight, there's a lot of people that come out of the woodworks that want to tell you how good you are. You need people that are going to tell you straight up when you're not doing things the right way, and have true support. And I think that if you build a great nucleus of trusted people around you, whether it's your financial advisor, whether it's your family member, but people that you truly trust, that's always going to shoot you straight and tell you what's right and what's wrong, and build that nucleus. I think that's the best advice I would give you.
Thanks. Cam, back to you for one final question. Yep. Along the same vein, what advice might you have for the younger generations in this room right now in terms of financial literacy, setting yourself up for success?
I would say, don't be afraid to if you have friends or family or money pickle, don't be afraid to reach out to someone. There's so many things that aren't taught to us in school and even in your close group. Finances are such a difficult thing to understand. And before I started working in this industry, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what a Roth was. I didn't know how to go about allocating my 401k. And those things are important, especially the sooner you start, the more that can affect long-term, and to where you can take care of your family, you can take care of your kids and experience cool things. So if you can get those things in order today or tomorrow, it can have a huge effect, a huge positive effect in the future and in the long run.
Thank you. Guys, thank you so much for joining. This has been very enlightening. I hope the audience appreciates it. Thank you so much for your contributions.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great job, man.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure. Great work.
Thank you.
Great work, man.
All right. We are bringing it down to our very last session of the day. Are we ready for the draft tonight? We're ready for the Detroit draft tonight? All right. Mr. Zunaid, can I get you over here, sir? I want to recognize some Benzinga team members who are very special, helpful in making this all happen. We've got Zunaid Solman. Can we get a round of applause for Zunaid? We've got Aaron Thomas, Malia, Zunaid, I need you. We've got Jordan, we've got Dustin, we have Michael Cohen, Emily Cervoni, Mr. Jason Rasnick.
You know they can hear you still.
All right. It's been a long day, all right? We were here until midnight last night, 7 a.m. this morning. We're moving into our last session of the day. Can I get Lamar Woodley, Tommy Doman, and Greg Schwartz out here, please? All right, man. You're bringing us home.
It was just me.
I think it might be just you. Just the two of us. Should we get cozy?
Just the two of us.
All right, we're going to get cozy.
All right.
Lamar and I met last Saturday night at the Nicki Minaj show. Coincidentally, I knew he was going to be here at this event and just happened to bump into him. I introduced myself and said, hey, I'm Lamar Woodley. I'm like, oh, no shit.
We actually met in the ticket line.
Yes, in the ticket line. We're both trying to figure out where the hell to go.
Yeah.
Yes, we ended up in the same spot. So, Lamar, first question, a critical one. What did you think of the show?
I thought it was a great show. I mean, she took a while to come out.
A long
Are you talking about the Nicki Minaj?
The Nicki Minaj show,
Yeah. No, all right. It was a great show. She just took a while to come out. But I think overall, like the energy and everything in there was like live. Like I really enjoyed the show. Like her fans coming out wearing pink and stuff. So I enjoyed it.
All right, I enjoyed it too. The costumes, and I mean, she has some hits. I mean, they go way back. You forget about them.
Yeah, no, you forget about the new hits, you know, because you used to hear the old hits on the radio. So some of the new songs is like, damn, I don't know those songs. Like I said, overall, the energy was great in there.
Yep, absolutely. So, Lamar, I want to open this one up. You have a Super Bowl winning career. You have a ring. That's got to be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
How it wasn't a smooth path to get there, I'm sure, right? There was adversity, there were setbacks. You know, what did that path look like? And how do you deal with adversity and setbacks?
I mean, for me, I was fortunate enough to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers, well-organized organization. They was great. They had a lot of veteran players there. So I came in and I kind of just added on to what was already there. And I just fell in line with them. So anytime that I felt like giving up because the season was longer than the college season, and you had those older guys that was mentoring you and making sure that you know you was able to survive on and off the field.
All right. So let's talk about off the field. All right, tell me about your ventures off the field. What did that transition look like? Tell me about that world.
My transition off the field started my first year in the NFL. I started to think about I can get hurt at any given time. And so I started doing radio and TV show my rookie year. Okay. And after two or 3 years of doing radio and TV, I realized that I was the show, that I was giving the recap on the show. They needed me in order to really tell the story. So that following year in 2012, I created a show called The Lamar Woodley Show. And it's on YouTube. So I had really started podcasting in 2012, and I would take my show and take it on the road, and every week I would do it at a different location. So I produced the entire show. I found the host. I found the guy to produce the music, so I didn't have any copyright. And so I just produced the whole thing. So at that time, I was starting on my independent route because I knew that one day my career would end, whether the Steelers cut me, whether I get hurt, whether I decide to walk away or I get carried off the field, but I was going to be ready for that next transition.
All right. So you were into podcasting before everybody was into podcasting. I have a podcast now. If I have one, everybody has one. You were first.
Yeah, but now I'm more behind the camera now. So now I have a film production company called Area 56 Entertainment. It's based here out of Detroit. We film scripted and unscripted. Just released my trailer of a show called Overdraft that I produced that's loosely based on my life.
Okay.
It's about a player who's just getting drafted and just coming into new wealth as a young player, dealing with the scam, the pitfalls, the different relationships with family and friends, and how that affect athletes on and off the field. And I focus this series more so on off the field than on the field, because a lot of time we are on the field where our story is already documented, but off the field, nobody really tells that story. So in this scripted format show that I wrote, it's going to be 3 17-minute episodes. I'm going to release them on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, straight independent. I'm going to use those platforms. I'm going to market, and I'm going to build the numbers up, man. So I don't want to go out there and pitch a show because I feel like streaming is big, and I'm using this platform.
All right. So you're a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
All right. NFL career, Super Bowl champion. Like, what characteristics do you think enable you to win a Super Bowl, but then also have these other business ventures, right? Not most people can't do it. A lot of guys can't do both. What sets you apart? What is the secret sauce?
You got to have a good team around you. Nobody does anything by themselves. I think when I look back at my career, being All-American in high school and college, and being a Super Bowl champ, I was surrounded by talented guys. And that's how I was able to showcase my talent, because I was around talent. So everywhere I go, it's about team. When I'm building this production company, it's about team. We need everybody, from the sound guy to the camera guy, to the guy that's lighting it, to the guy that's doing the interview. We're all play a major piece in this in order for the show to look successful. So without team, nothing works.
So I hear a lot of guys talk about team, right?
Yeah.
Like how do you rally a team around you? How do you build the energy for the team? Like how do you get that cohesion going?
I just be myself. I think everybody lead in their own way. Everybody find their own individual way to lead. I just lead by just being me, lead by example, my experience. I can't really tell you. Everybody has their own formula of leading. There's different type of ways of leading. And I just have my way. I come from winning teams. I come from winning programs. I've watched the Pittsburgh Steelers be successful. I watched the University of Michigan be successful. So I had an opportunity to be around billion-dollar corporations and had an opportunity to soak in that knowledge and information. So now when I come in, I build my production team. I build it like a football team. I understand we need a head coach. Everybody got certain jobs that we got to do in order for this film to come to light. And even though my name might be on the project, there's 20 to 30 other guys and women on that project in order to make it look good. And I tell my production crew that I say, listen, if you see something wrong, say something, because all of our name is on this. And when it look good, we all look good. And when it all look good, we all ball. That's how it go.
That's how it goes. All right. So I've been asking everybody on stage for a story. I know it's not in the question set that we got, but everybody likes to hear a story.
I didn't get no questions.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
you
I
just
got a
off the
question
top.
set.
Oh, I didn't know what she was gonna ask.
We're gonna ask for your political leaning next. No, just kidding. But give us a story. You have like a favorite story, a funny story, a crazy story?
I mean, I got all kind of stories. It depends on what genre you want the story in.
I want the wildest story you can give us.
I ain't got no wild stories like that. I wouldn't do no stuff like that. Which one?
NFL party story?
I don't have no NFL party stories.
All right. What's a favorite story of yours or a funny story?
I don't know, man. I honestly, I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you want to know about what's a funny story. I think a funny story to me is, I'll give you one.
All right.
I mean, you might find it funny, might not, but it was the Super Bowl, and it was the last play of the game, one of the last play of the games, and I caused a sack force fumble that caused Kurt Warner to fumble the ball, and Brett Kiesel picked up the ball. And during my, celebrating on the sideline, he like, "Hey, Wood, you want the ball?" I'm like, "Oh man, keep it." And then after the game, I got back to the hotel and I said, "Damn, I told him to keep the Super Bowl ball." So the next day, I was like, Keys, man, I want that Super Bowl ball. He like, nah, man, I can't give it to you. So I've been after that ball for like 10 to 12 years now, man. If I go to his house, I'm still in that ball. Yeah.
That's a great
Yeah,
one.
so I feel like that's a pretty decent story. Nothing wild and crazy.
All right,
to
let me ask
expose
you one
nobody.
more. What does it feel like right the moment right after when you get a sack in the Super Bowl, it causes a fumble?
Yeah, it felt like a movie. Like it was. You know how you watch those football movies and it's like 5 seconds left on the clock and they on the sideline and the coach like, we need a big play from you. And that's how Coach Tomlin was. He was like, hey, Wood, man, we need a big play from you. I'm like, yeah, Coach, I got you. Okay. And then to go out there and cause a sack force fumble, it was like, that's the way to cap off your first year starting as a professional athlete. Your second year in the NFL, you win a Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, how else would you want it?
Awesome, man. Lamar, I appreciate you being here with us, man. Hell of an interview. We're gonna chop this one up. There are some viral moments in this. There are some moments when this to go
Yeah,
viral.
man, I just gave you about 2 to 3%, man. I ain't even open up everything.
Well, I appreciate you being here, man.
I appreciate you, man. This is a great event. I appreciate y'all taking the time, sitting down, listening to me. You could be in the back talking. And getting some autographs from people, so I appreciate y'all. And make sure y'all follow me at Lamar Woodley. As I told y'all, I'm independently producing this project and marketing myself, so y'all numbers will count as views. So we appreciate all views. And if you like it, share it. And if you don't, hell, still share it.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, let's give Lamar another round of applause. And with that, we are bringing our day to an end. We've done it 7 or 8 times today. My dad is the diehard Lions fan. Can we get one more Go Lions? A little louder. One more Go Lions. All right. Let's hang out. Let's have some fun. And let's watch this draft. Thanks, everyone.